Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright.
Is going on? What's the word? What's the word? What's going on? This is another session of hope. It's going to be another great class tonight. Another deep class, another engaging class. And I'm just going through the notes. I'm excited to go through it with you guys, and hopefully that we can continue down the same path we was on last week, and just uncover some stuff and understand how this all translates to entrepreneurship. So keep in mind everything we discuss. This isn't a self-help class per se. This isn't a motivational class or a personal development class. This is an entrepreneurial class, and I know sometimes it may seem like it's not because we talk about a lot of personal things, but as you all know, entrepreneurship and you is intertwined because you can't separate yourself from yourself. So and by the end of the year, you'll also understand why we go through topics like this. Because if we can't prime you to accept the strategies and tactics that we teach you, then the strategies and tactics will just slip right off you. We have to be able to prime you. You know, almost like when you want something to stick, you sandpaper it so it primes, it's rough, so that when you spray on it, it sticks. So that's why I don't feel good a lot of times. That's why you're like, what the fuck? What's going on? Why? Because it don't feel good is because we are priming, we're preparing you. So when we do spray on the strategies and tactics and all the liminal type of thinking and first principle, second order thinking type stuff, it'll stick much better. Because it'll straight up repel with the same kind of thinking that you have now. So let's get right to it. The reason why we're back here is because it was great dialogue, and I didn't want to stop, but we had to. So I wanted to revisit this, and if they're first asked, and I compacted the slides a little bit so that we can have a little more discussion, and answer more questions. So if there are any questions about what we discussed last week in terms of the what are you willing to stop doing part of the question, then let's get to it. It was definitely like flipping the thinking, because a lot of times, this is basically a new thought, because a lot of times we're always pursuing, we're always doing, we're always adding. What can I do? What can I do to reach my goals? What can I do to get success? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? But the new thought is also, what can I stop doing? What do I need to stop doing? And it's never a being hard on yourself thing. It's never that. It's being gentle with yourself. And also the key points to that is you're playing a long game. It's not a perfection game. It's not a perfection mindset. It's a growth mindset. So do the numbers with yourself. And the point is, as long as you never give up, if you don't ever give up on yourself, then you always have metrics to look at. So some things may take you instantly. I need to stop doing it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Some things may take you much longer. So here's a couple things too that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. There's a few different ways where you can cut things off, right? And all of them work. I wrote down some notes. Let me get my notes, make sure that I'm way number one, self-control. Self-control. Some of you guys got it. You can decide to stop something and you have the self-control to stop it. Way number one is self-control. Way number two, fear. So some of you guys, if you were so afraid of your parents that you were a good girl or good guy, good boy, just because of the fear that your parents put into you. Another way is religion, right? So religion is still in the fear category. Is you also got told a story that there was a bigger entity than your parents that's watching you at all times, can see it all. So, and at the end of your life, you was going to have to answer to that entity, and they're going to pull out the list. I saw you, I saw you, I saw you, and saw you. Where you think you should go? The floaty place or the burning place? Where you think you should go? So there's also some of you who, from that narrative, locked in on it, believed it enough to where you said, oh man, I'm not doing that. Because I don't want to go to hell. I want to go to heaven. So that's still in the fear space. So some of it is fear. You can stop doing things for fear. It's not that I don't want to do it, because I do. But what will happen if I get caught? It's fear. Second one is will. Third one is will. Will is, it's a way. And I'm not going to judge any of these. I'm just saying the ways, and we can discuss them. There's will. I got will. I'm going to fight it. No. No. Get behind me, Satan. Will. You got the will to do it. Number 4 is purpose. Purpose. The next one is desire. So there's and it's scientifically they say there's a small percentage of human beings who can take a particular action from the desire to gain the pleasure from not doing the thing. It's rare because most humans operate from a space of pain, fear, pain. There's few who says, why do you do this? Because I want to go to heaven. But most people's like, I don't want to go to hell. But there are some people who do it from a space of desire. Why do you eat so good? Because I just want to look good. Where there's others that say they're afraid of what they're going to look like if they didn't look good. Last one is disconnection. There's a somewhere in the Bible, Chris, you can quote me, you can give me the scripture, but it said if your eye is making you stumble, then you cut it out. So that's actually a strategy that absolutely works, and that is you make sure you put things in place where you don't even see it. It's not around you. So if you have a desire to drink alcohol a lot and you can't control your desires from an alcoholic perspective, then one way to help you stop is to throw all the alcohol away and stop kicking it with people who drink. There's some people that's a strategy for some. Now, all of those have some short-term or long-term effects, meaning they can work. You have to look at which ones work for you. But I'll tell you in order of priority, like we talked about, purpose is the strongest. Your purpose is the strongest. And if I were to guess, will is at the bottom. Will is weak. Like will can get you running in the right direction, but it's going to run out quick. And all those ones in between, they're not good or bad. They just are what they are. And from a perspective of science, that's how they break down. Those are the ways that you can do or not do. Us humans, we love to use fear. And it's one way that one strategy that you can do. You can use it. Man, what's gonna happen if I do this? Man, I'm gonna lose out on this and that and that. Oh, I don't want to lose on that. Opportunity. You use all those to your advantage. But I will say this: your life depends on it. And when I say your life, I mean the life you want. From an entrepreneurial perspective, all around, your life depends on it. Your health depends on it. Your family's lives depend on it. Your security depends on it. The potential impact you can have on your community depends on it. So when you stack all those up, that pushes into your purpose, puts pressure on you. And we ain't all gonna be perfect either. There's some things in my shadow side that I ain't figured out to this day. It just is what it is, cause that's life too. And you gotta learn how to manage those. But last week there was a lot of hands going up. So I didn't want to rush out of it. I didn't want to come back here without addressing it or at least putting it back. Any questions? Everybody good? Shakina.
I don't have a question, but just like a share. So, I a lot of times what I learn in class, I take it back to my business and I share with my clients because so much of what translates for entrepreneurs are the same learning lessons I need to teach my clients when they're trying to overcome a fear or a physical issue or an emotional issue when it comes to training. And so I was talking to them about this class because I have a class on Thursday morning and everything's always fresh in my mind. And so I was like, yo, my class started off with the dopest question. And they were like, oh, what is it, Shakina? And I'm like, and I pulled up my notes and I was like, yeah, they asked you not what are you willing to do, but what are you willing to stop doing? And the whole room was just like, oh. But it was hella dope because
That's
the
dope.
entire class, it took over and like people even at the end of class were talking about like the things that were on the radar that they wanted to stop doing. And I just want to say thank you because so many
Mm,
of my possibly would have been short-term clients have turned into long-term clients
mm,
because of the jewels that I'm getting from this class that I'm learning how to like mull over and practice with them. And it like there's so like I have a client that's going to come to this class next week because she's just like, well, do I fit in? And I'm like, yo, it's about to be a whole bunch of black entrepreneurs, so you are going to be like the odd one out, but it's a dope ass circle and you'll learn a lot. But just the whole week as I was doing stuff, I was just like, man, what do I need to stop doing?
mm,
Wasting time. What do I need to stop doing? Scrolling on social media. What do I need to stop doing? Taking shit personal. What do I need to stop doing? Like that was like
mm,
that question like from last week has just been at the forefront of my head of like not what do I need to do more of because I already do too damn much. I need to take back my time and be more intentional. So I just want to say that this shit was fire.
Thank you. That's dope. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, moving on. Let's move on. Recap. So, one of the things we talked about the humanness of our masters. We do not want to over romanticize or hero worship the ones that can give us game. We need to compartmentalize the game that they give us and let the rest go, because that will allow you to put to puzzle piece together an amazing way to operate and move. So the humanness of our masters. Do not. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody shits, eats, cries, makes mistakes, does stupid shit, say dumb things. And we need to give others grace, just like we need to give ourselves grace for it. I think we coined a new term. We made up some shit last week. The flat earth thinking. My brain was spinning all week of like, oh, that could apply to so much. Flat earth thinking is a dope way to quickly and simply put something when we want to generalize something and create narratives after it, when in actuality it's way deeper than what we're thinking on the surface. And we think 1 + 1 = 2, but in actuality it's trigonometry down there, and we're using flat earth thinking. So there's so many layers to that. And in this class and in entrepreneurship, I think that's one of the failures of so many entrepreneurs, is they're approaching things with flat earth thinking instead of being curious and discovering what is the actual math. What is the actual math? How does it actually work? And then the last thing we talked about is, whose coat are you holding? You got to hold somebody's coat. If you want to be the next great, then you got to be holding coats of people who are great now. If you're not, then you're losing the ability to skip steps. It's a wormhole. Holding someone who's great's coat is a wormhole to your own success. And I misspoke. I said my second mentor was a founder of North Face. No, he's a founder of 24 Hour Fitness. 24 Hour Fitness. So I said the wrong name. So hold them coats. Hold them coats. Hold them coats. And ego prevents us a lot of times from holding coats. Wanting to be a boss out the gate prevents us from holding coats. Jealousy, resentment, envy prevents us from holding coats. Wanting to skip steps and get there fast prevents us from holding coats. And you'll realize that it's the same flat earth type of thinking when people are like, I just want to get to the top. So I told you I spent that 30 racks on Start at the Top seminar. 30 racks back in the day. 30 racks on Start at the Top. Fuck yeah, start at the top? What, I just get in the airplane and they just drop me at the top of the peak? I'll pay 30 racks for that, because that is the trick. That's how you can get manipulated, mind fucked. So be humble, hold coats. Something I left out too is one of my mentors sent me to go intern at a company for a whole year, free. I worked for a company for free, and not like, let me shadow somebody. They put me to work. I was designing shit and not getting paid. Designing activewear and running wear. But you know what I learned? I learned so much more than what I could have got paid for. So, whole coats. Like, this is probably in the top 10 of things you need to do as an entrepreneur. Whole coats. But like we say, we got to scrub. You have to be primed to hold a coat. You know why? Because most of us are primed to be kings and queens out the gate and bosses and shit. So that feels weird. It rubs off. But holding coats is fucking imperative. I don't know if you guys know my world. You ever heard of the term "ball is life"? How many ever heard the term "ball is life"? Well, I told you I've been a millionaire twice. Our first company crashed and burned, and I over time started another one. Well, my first company that I started, I'm a few years in. And when we launched our website, we was like, "Hey, this first customer, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this customer. Whoever buys from our website first, this guy is gonna be, we're gonna love on this person." So the first order comes through. It's a kid from Santa Rosa. So we like, you in the first board. We sent him everything. Then we invited him to come to the office. All the events that we had, we put a VIP badge around him, and he could come backstage and hang out with the players and all that. So as we grew, he just became our, like, he was our first, like our lucky charm, our first ever customer. So eventually we like, we gonna give you something to do, because he just was hanging around. He would just hang around the office. So I put a camera in his hand and I said, "All right, so I want you to just capture everything, all the moments, all the players' games, during the scenes, behind the scenes, everything." I'm like, "All right." Never asked me for $1. He did that for 2 years. 2 years. And then I got pissed one day at my staff, so I fired everybody and I said, "You guys all got to re-interview for your jobs." I was a fucking asshole. So 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 everybody came dressed up, and and I'm re-interviewing for a job, and he comes and I'm like, "You're an intern." He's like, "I know, but I just love being here." So I'm like, "You don't have to re-interview." But he was so dedicated that he even showed up for the re-interview. My company crashes, burns. This kid goes off to college. He held my coat for 2 years. He started a company called Ball is Life, one of the biggest media companies in sports right now. It like, if when I tell you that it's important, it's important. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what he was doing. But it's a wormhole. It's a wormhole. Next slide. Any questions on those three?
Sorry. Can y'all hear me? Is it on? Do I do a thing? I'm good now. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. I've been sitting with the whose coat are you holding ever since you introduced it, and similar thing with purpose, right? And that question of like, what is your purpose? And not from the standpoint of well, Hope says I should have a purpose, so I'm gonna pick one. But from the standpoint of like, what's here? Like, what's in me that is here? Um, but one of the things, and the question of self value that we've been talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came to this community, um, I had a lot of ego. Um, and I remember coming to Nana and saying like, I don't I don't really care what I do. Like, can I come sweep the floors? I just want to be around. And he was like, "We're not gonna do that. We're gonna pay you, but you can learn some stuff. We're not gonna have you do that."
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like whose coat are you holding, there was a lot I didn't really know about um, myself outside of a certain context. I didn't. It was never a question to me about purpose or about many of the things that 510 Media, and then by as well as this Hope community is. Um, those were new things to me. I just wanted to be around to learn how to think like that because that wasn't anything that was a part of my map of the world.
Mm.
I had never worked, I'd never had a black boss in my life. Never. I was many people's first black boss. Like I'd never done that before. I never worked n- totally outside of the way I was moving in the world. But when you say, when you said last week, so much of this is like caught just by being there. I don't know how many, I probably haven't really been able to articulate how much I learned from being at 510 Media and also then being in this space. But I know it's a lot because it continues to come up, and I'm always calling Nana like, remember 3 years ago you said it was going to take a long time and be patient, and I was like, I don't have time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but I'm just realizing how much that's kind of playing out in my own experience, right? So when you were like, whose code are you holding? I was asking myself, well, whose code am I holding now? Like, am I holding anybody's code? Is there opportunity for me to do that? And like, what am I really learning? And so I'm just kind of bringing it up to share like some of this stuff. Like, I don't necessarily at this moment have a specific question about it. More so than I'm sitting with the inquiry myself and asking myself the question, right? It's like a standard of like, how are you moving in the world?
Mhm.
And to the question of purpose, like I may not necessarily know the answer yet, but I can be in the space of people who are very clear about that just to see how they think and process the world. And whatever I'm able to catch that I'm not conscious of, that's a way for me to kind of do it because I'm in the environment where the conversation and the thinking is happening.
Mm. Mm.
Um, so I just kind of wanted to share that. And you know, to the question of purpose, I'm like, well, if someone doesn't know their purpose quite yet, you could work and help somebody else's purpose. Like hope is a purpose, right? So a way to I look at Josh or Jasadi or me or Cola or the number of people who have been through 510 or been through any of the things that um, Nana has created, like these communities, like now they're kind of off in a purpose and they kind of get it. And so sometimes, like, what I realize is that you don't always have to be able to answer it. And that can feel kind of funny. And also, like, the ego of, like, I'm supposed to be this thing, right? And so you have all of this armor um, instead of just allowing yourself to learn, right? And you can decide which way you want to go, but your learning is a thing that's important, but your ego sometimes prevents you from latching on to what's available to you. So, like, in terms of like what I'm willing to stop doing, there's many things that I have stopped doing over the time that I have been here. But I think what came up for me is like, I think right now it's, I don't collaborate enough. Nana and me have had this conversation many times. We just had it maybe like a month ago. Like I don't collaborate enough, right? So, well, I guess what I'm willing to stop doing is like being a lone wolf, right? Just like this idea because it's a form of protection, protecting myself from whatever. And stuck, I learned I don't have to know what that is. I spent a lot of time like, why am I doing this? Why is this like this? Well, I don't have to know. I just have to move in the direction of like collaborating with people and working through what that feels like. But the whose coat are you holding and the question of like how much I remember how much it felt. There was a lot of times where it felt like I was completely lowering myself, especially coming from like the story of like you're supposed to be this thing and you over here doing this and you're not doing this and I went through all of those like but those were just like barriers to keep me from really doing something that's meaningful. um, so I just
Mm.
kind of wanted to share like the whose
Mm.
coat are you holding and between like not I'm a shaman and this community too, right? Being in the hope sphere, there's a lot of things I didn't know how to answer, but I just kept coming around.
Mhm.
So,
Dope.
Cologne, thank you to you,
That's dope.
sir. Did I catch you off
Dope.
guard?
Well, and here's the thing: you don't like not everybody's gonna know their purpose in the moment. Not everybody's gonna know, but we did give you a path to your purpose, and that's being of service. You'd be surprised what compounding effect happens on your purpose when you start small, when you start sweeping somebody's floor. when you start sweeping somebody's floor. You never, the compounding effect that happens when you start just sweeping somebody's floor who's in purpose. But it takes humility. And it absolutely takes tossing out any story you have about your worth. Remember that conversation we had about worth? See, we're arguing about our worth because of an education that costs a certain amount of it. Once we toss all that shit in the trash and be like, I am here right now where I'm supposed to be, and I'm gonna be the best absolutely at sweeping this floor as anybody has ever came. I'm gonna sweep this floor better than anybody who ever have. Period. Who swept that floor? I did. And you'll be surprised how that could be a little crack to your path on this little pathway that leads you to your purpose. Another way is path to your purpose happened a lot when you were a kid. I know when I was a kid, 1 minute seemed like 1 hour. I was ADHD and all the other acronyms. But there were certain things I would do that the time would go by fast. Time would go by fast. And when I became an adult, I realized those things were the path to the purpose. So you don't have to know in the moment, but what one way that can help you is to start being of service. Start being of service and go down that rabbit hole.
I'm going to say this and try to remove the shame, but I think it's funny that I've been in this class for hella long and I still don't feel like I know my purpose. But I feel like in everything that I do in my business and who I connect with, like there is so much love, so much care, so much thoughtfulness that goes into it. Like I don't do anything accidentally. Everything is very on purpose. But I don't know. I don't know if I can like 100% say that I know my purpose. Like when I work with people, they're like, man, you could tell you love what you do. Like I get lost in it. I can write programs and study the body and I dream about it, right? I could do it all day, every day. I love it. Like only thing that keeps me from not going is that I need sleep. But just because I love what I do, I don't think it's purpose. And that frustrates me that I've been in this class for this long and I still can't 100% say I know purpose.
Well, I would say this. I will revisit your story. Because the way you just talked about it, I was about to walk out the room and let you just be with you and that. I'm dead serious. Like sometimes we can overanalyze shit and over-articulate things and over-intellectualize things to the point where we drive out what actually is. Now, we can have a conversation about A, some of the things you've gone through, B, some of the things that in your past have made you feel like the time goes by fast, like you just talked about. You could love it. You don't even need to sleep to do it. Now, if you go and talk to anybody who are scholars or high-level thinkers and ask them what are the key indicators of purpose, you know what they'll describe? Exactly what you just said. So you very well might be in your purpose or on the path to it. But either way, you just stay on path. There's nothing wrong. A lot of times we put too much pressure and we're perfectionists. We want perfect, clear answer. I want it like this. So if I don't get it like this, then it doesn't exist. But it might be all in your face. You might be swimming around in it right now. Because if it involves helping people and you get a sense of gratification and well-being when somebody comes to you and say, "You changed my life, Shakina. You changed my life. You changed my health. Doctor said X was going to happen if I didn't, and you brought me to that place. Or you just got me looking sexy as fuck. And now I got more confidence, and now I can bag whoever I want to bag." And when that feeling you get, I'm just saying that could be purpose. You might just be over intellectualizing it. You in it. You in that shit. I'll challenge you. I'd just make an argument that you might be in it.
Online, Haynes said, I had a wonderful opportunity to hold a coat. My peers shamed me about it because I wasn't getting paid, and it wasn't like a thing where I was receiving a lot of admiration. She's saying I learned a lot, and I could have learned more from that experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's the difference between working for free and holding a coat. Okay? Because if we're entrepreneurs, our mentality is next in line. There's not an amount of money you can pay me to get the game that I can go do myself. Now, if you just a raggedy ass business person, X, Y, Z, you just working for free and you're not gaining nothing from it, that ain't holding the coat. You just being stupid. You getting played. But if you are learning something entrepreneurially that you can use and soak up to generate revenue for your next venture, that is you next in line. You're next in line. So I don't get like. I think the only issue is just releasing the feeling of getting roasted from other people. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know what path you on. Okay, cool. I'm gonna see y'all. That's fine. Enjoy. I know what I'm doing. But hold that coat. Hold the coat. If you have the opportunity to be around somebody who has what you have and is living the life you living in a particular area, and they are willing to give you game and sit down with you, or you're even ability to be in their presence for you to soak energy and game from them, that is, you should be paying them. Am I lying? You should be paying them. That's how valuable it is.
Can I add one small thing? I think I think the lesson you taught a couple of weeks ago, which is one of my favorite lessons. I think it was absolutely brilliant. This is when the Rise of Sister was here, and he talked about survivor mode. And I just talked to him on the way here how brilliant that was and how he opened up Pandora's box. Because, like, it's making so many connections. It's almost like he gave me. You ever seen how when you add energy to a drone and it just comes alive because energy connects all these different things together? Survival mode was really a connector. And, we were discussing how survivor mode is this abstract, invisible threat to your thinking. And it changes your lenses, reduces your capacity, and literally shrinks your value, right? You're working really, really hard. You're really shrinking your value, even though you're putting all this energy into like digging deeper into a hole as opposed to climbing out of the hole. One of the things that help you really establish purpose is you got to kind of be aware, just awareness. What's going on around me? What does this mean? What's the world I'm in? Like looking at the bigger picture, looking at things around you, right? But sometimes when you're in survival mode, there's no awareness. Your awareness is so badly shrunken, right? And especially we don't have where culture kind of backfills that by teaching us civics. Like generations are being born now thinking that the world they're entitled to the world and they don't have to do anything for the world to work the way it does. So everybody, especially, and then if you combine that with survivor mode, so I'm already thinking the world just works this kind of way, and all I'm trying to do is just get mines. And I think a lot of times when people say they don't have a purpose, is because they're so deep in survivor mode trying to get theirs, and the transaction of just life is like It's like you go to that plum tree, and even though you don't fertilize it and the owner of the house fertilize it, you just go there every year expecting to pick plums. But if it doesn't yield you plums, it doesn't make any sense to you. You never say to yourself, "Oh, it's not being fertilized, it's not being watered, whatever," because your brain is the plums have always been there. I'm just gonna get plums. Well, the economy becomes that to a lot of people, where the money's out there. I'm gonna get my money, but don't realize that there is this hidden group of abstract rules keeping things alive that is maintained by the group. And if you don't participate in that, that system will also regulate how strong you are as an individual. So you can't separate your purpose from your personal strength. You can't separate your purpose from your decision making. I get to that another class I don't want. The group strength impacts the way you show up. And so when you get to a point where you stop seeing connections between things, or you're just looking at tree, water, money, all these just things you're just grabbing because you're in survivor mode. You really can't purpose, because purpose requires for you to kind of process, stop and look and going, I want to change that ecosystem, that things that's impacting a lot of people, that thing that I think I'm endowed to show up to and solve. But if your only focus of life is what can I get, and don't even see you and the world and the interconnectivity of all that stuff, because you're in survival mode, not because you're stupid. You can even go come out of Harvard, right? You can be a basketball player making $1 billion this year. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of filthy rich, ignorant people. But that survival mode you brought to the table, I really think it's combined with the way society is running right now. I believe it's a major blindfold.
You want to do Survivor 2 next week?
Man, we could. Well, I think next week we close, right?
Beginning of next.
Yeah, we come back on a
Break.
week after.
We'll do that. You brought, man, you made me think of an idea when you were talking. It's gonna come back to me. Go ahead. It's gonna come back to me.
So, for number 3,
Go ahead.
want to go while you got it on your head? Go ahead, because I can remember.
It brought me to, well, to me, what make that point valid is, I don't know if you guys ever heard Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know Maslow's hierarchy of needs? And you know what the 6th one is, the highest one? Self-actualization. You know what that means? Purpose. But all the other needs have to get met first before you get to that self-actualization place. You know why? Because if you in scarcity, you're not even thinking self-actualization. You're not thinking purpose. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah. And at the very bottom is just basic food, water, sex, like all the stuff that you have to do in order to live. You got to eat. That's the bottom layer. And then as you stack on the layers, you get to the very top layer is self-actualization, meaning purpose, which means survivor mode and scarcity and purpose have a hard time communicating with each other. They can't. So that does the math on exactly what he just said. Go ahead, Shakina.
Okay, so for number 3, when I heard you say this last week, I feel like I used to hold a lot of coats, and it was very natural for me, because when I would come into circles, like I've always been drawn to older people. I don't really like people my age group. Not like for personal, but just what do I want to accomplish and what I'm working on. I'm usually around an older crowd because, like, I got a teenager. I gotta think about things and move differently than most of my friends that are just starting to have kids, that are just like turning on parts. And so when I first started in my industry, I would do a whole bunch of volunteer stuff. Like, I mean, I even came around 5'10" because I was literally sweeping floors. I was cleaning the office at the old studio. And I didn't even look at it as like humbleness or anything. I was just like, yo, this is so different. This is a whole new world than anything I've ever been exposed to. And then I started a business, and I still kept like trying to surround myself with people that I could learn from just as much as I was teaching. But then as my business has grown, my schedule is fuller. I'm not making a lot of time to like, and not on purpose, but I guess I'm not being intentional about creating that time to be able to break away from business. Like I'm doing like 50, 60 hours a week on a minimum. And so I was sitting back, and I think maybe about a year ago, I reached out to another trainer in my industry, and I was just like, no competition or anything, because we have totally separate fields, markets, and everything. But like let me come through and help. I think these are some strengths that I could help you with, and like I just want to just come through and just learn because you're ahead of the game for me, and our clients aren't going to clash because we're in two different neighborhoods and types.
Mhm.
But then I found myself, I don't know if it's because of, I'm going to assume that part of it is how my ego comes off or has come off in the past and my defensiveness, but I have worked on that. And I'm curious to see, is it more challenging as you grow because of perception of like if I'm a leader in my industry, in my area, people are not as quick to share information with me because they're looking at me like competition. And I'm like, no, like I'll teach you anything that I know because you're going to do it different than me. Just like anything you teach me, I'm going to do it different than you. But then I'm also just like, maybe I still need to check myself and my ego, and maybe there is still a vibe that I'm giving off that doesn't allow for me to go hold somebody else's coat at the stage that I'm at.
Um, well put. So we remember Nana talked about the matchers, givers, takers, right? All that has a container of energy with it. And if there's sincerity, right, there has to be sincerity in those spaces. So sincerity is another piece because it's like, why are you here? Like here, I came and brought you a gift. It's like, wait a minute, is it the apple from Snow White? Cause I ain't eating that shit. Like there's givers, matchers, and takers, right? So that's why in the industry you have to pick which one you're going to be that best suits the overall goal of what you want, and that's growth and scaling. So everything has an environment. It has a peer group. It has people in it. So what your reputation says about you, what people say about you, that's your brand. Not just with customers, with also people in the industry. So it may take time to nurture that brand, and it also may take the energy from you to just go and share information. Hey, have you thought about this? Here, what the thing is, people who have a measure of success a lot of times love being able to get it out. They just do, but to the right people, to people they feel comfortable with, trusting, and that are going to use it. If you ain't like, what the fuck am I talking to you for? If you ain't gonna use it, or you gonna bullshit, or it's the third time I'm saying the same thing, man, you're wasting my time. Because people at that level, they do the math. I do the math every day. I have to make a certain amount of money a day. That's I check, what did we make? So my time, like, I value that. So if you're gonna give it, people want to give it. It's just giving it to the right people. And when you come with a humble spirit, you'd be surprised how many people will be willing to share. Our culture, you got to look at our culture though, because this is our culture. Like that's why this is rare. You don't see too many of these. You got to pay bread, 500 a session, 1,000, 1,500, because they say in our culture, the game is to be sold, not told.
You understand me?
He said, you understand me? Yeah. So we automatically bypassing the rules of the game by We're telling. We're telling. So that's why this environment is important as hell. And I hope now you see the value of this environment, not just us two, but all the entrepreneurs that are in this room. You get to talk to, collaborate with, exchange ideas, get feedback from, use, hire, everything. That's why this is important. This ecosystem is important. But just start. Go. Don't think about it. Just try. Go after it.
Can I add? You bet. My microphone on. Cause Josiah be playing. I'm telling you right now, I'm about to do sound. Josiah in charge of the lunches, because that's where he can. He good at managing lunches, but sound. There's always this conversation. We can't go too far into because I want to finish class, but our people don't feel like we're good enough. And we start a pissing contest as soon as we come in contact. Let me show you how it happens. Hey, man, how you been? Oh, man, I've been doing big things. I've been doing... Okay, you're not going to get nothing out of me. Because now we're positioning ourselves in the intro to say, I'm valuable. No, I'm valuable. I'm valuable. Well, we're not going to share. You ever run across, like a lot of my entrepreneur friends, say, how you been doing? Hey, man, I'm doing good, but let me something. I have this question for you. They almost shrink themselves down to come to the door to say, hey, I need some help, right? But if you're coming to the door, I know, I got it. I'm doing great. My company's doing big things. Let me show you some things we're doing. Oh, yeah, can I work with you to collaborate? No, because it doesn't feel like I'm teaching you. It feels like you're stealing from me. That slight tweak. Mm-hmm. 2, if I give you bad information, you gotta know how to let it ride, because you just wait for the right information to come. So a lot of my friends will sit with me and go, yeah, that's what I needed to hear. Thank you. All right, man, tell me more about that. Right? But if you're like debating and challenging and I think it's little, I don't know about that. I heard, don't even work for me. That might just be you. All that kind of stuff is now next time you come, I'm not going to even answer my phone. 3, make it brief. You talk too long, you can't reach me all the time. You can call me like, Court, I don't think his worst problem is by 15 minutes. And it's not that I don't enjoy it. I could talk to him all day long. We hang out the house and time disappears. But when you're having a problem, he's like, yo, he's running, I'm running, right? He's like, yo, I need to talk to you a second. I said, cool. And he'll lay it out almost like my mentor used to tell me to do this. Before you go talk to a lawyer, write your problems down and what you need to make sure it's clear so you can hit it right back to back because time is short and you're paying for time. Well, you learn that same practice when you engage with entrepreneurs. But if you go to other entrepreneurs and you just chatty Cathy and you got all that extra emotions and all the storytelling, oh my God, man, I promise you they're going to push you away, and they got nothing to do with you stealing from their business. You don't know how to show up in that space and just ask a goddamn question.
Yep. All right, let's start the class. Ego is the enemy. Thank you again, Danielle. Let's go. First slide. Let's talk about that bag of chips. So this is the side of the ego that works for you, that benefits you, that helps you. Now, a lot of us been through some shit. And in a system that's designed for us, not for us, then the way we navigate through it has been wrought with a lot of obstacles, right? A lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles. Now, if you have been able to get through and around, above, below those obstacles, but you recognize the fuck shit. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, you said, okay, all right, I got you. And you go around, and by the time you get to a particular milestone, you got a big bag of chips on your shoulder. You got chips on your shoulder, not a chip on your shoulder. You got a bag of chips on your shoulder. And that bag is good. That bag is good. Because anytime you want to quit, you sift through that bag. Up. Anytime you want to give up, anytime you want to not follow through on something, there's a chip in there for that. Remember when that one lady said that you wasn't gonna get past, you was gonna flunk? Okay. Remember when this person said that you was too stupid? You have a whole bag, and that can fuel you in your endeavorment. Remember when they said women aren't good entrepreneurs? Remember when they said, how's your little business doing? Remember when they said all these things in that bag fuel you, fuels you. It's good. Boy, did I use that bag. When I crashed and burned my business, man, human nature is so cold. So when my first business was booming and growing, and I was, Courtney, can I take a minute of your time? Can I take you out to lunch? Man, give me some game. Give me some game. Give me some game. When that company crashed, it wasn't one person around asking me shit. I still had the knowledge. It was what I needed to stop doing. I still had the knowledge of what to do. Nowhere to be found. None. Gone. Even if I suggested something, man, get out of here. Right? Okay. Put that in a bag. You know what I'm saying? Put it in a bag. So that is ego. Your ego's helping you in those moments. You put it in the bag. Hey, I got shit. I told you, I used to walk into the clubs. Court Smith in the building on the DJ booth. Court Smith in the building. Them downtimes, man, sorry, man, we can't let you in. Them jeans, man, you know, the owner tripping, man, I can't let you in with the jeans. Huh. Okay. Put it in the bag. Now, this is where it helps. We got chips on our shoulders now. We moving. We're like that. Now we're fueled. We going hard. As an entrepreneur, this can be a best friend. But here's the thing. You got to know when to throw that bag in the trash. Because if you hold on to that bag as you scale, that what helped you get there is also what's going to help you crash. So don't hold on tight to that bag. You got to know when to let it go. You got to know when to forgive all those people. You got to know when to re-humble yourself. Yes, they didn't believe in you. No, they didn't believe in you. And you was like, fuck them, I'm going to make it happen anyway. But you know what? Use that to get to a certain point, but maybe you were trash then. Maybe your product wasn't that good then. Maybe your food wasn't that good. Maybe your training wasn't that good. So you got to learn when to re-humble yourself. It's temporary. It's temporary fuel, and it's good. It's good. But if you hold on to it for too long, then that becomes your story. And it becomes your anchor. And I've rarely heard people who are perform at the highest level in the billions and the hundreds of millions and say, tell me about your success. They say, well, it was this one person who didn't believe in me, and and I just had to prove them wrong. No, that dies at a certain point. That dies. You use it to get you to the introductory steps and to get you some momentum, but you got to let it go. You got to forgive, you got to let go, and you got to re-humble yourself and become a student. I forgive them, for they know not what they do. They know not what they do. They don't know. Next slide. Passion. Passion. Passion is another one. I loved how you talked earlier, Shakina, about what you do. Like your whole energy changes when you talk about what you do. It's dope because you wake up every day and you get to do what you love. Right? You do what you love. Now, in terms of passion, passion also can be a good jump starter for your business. Love it. I do it for free. Right? I do it for free. I do it for free now, right? What some of us before they got into what they got into, they was already lightweight doing it. Or did it as kids or whatever. But you have to understand, passion is also just like that spaceship that takes off. There's a certain amount of thrust that's needed to get out of our atmosphere. But once it gets into orbit, that same thrust would take you 45 light years away. It's too strong. You have to disconnect and detach it and re-humble yourself. And now the humility comes through observation and looking at the numbers. What's the smartest way? Let me look at what are my options in this particular situation. What's the probabilities? What's first order thinking? What's first principle thinking? What's second order thinking in this situation? And completely make decisions putting your emotions over here. You may be super passionate, but you got to turn your passion from 10 down to 1 at the next level. And when I say at the next level, I'm not talking about level 10. I'm talking about level 2. Talk about level 2. And this right here, there's a lot of misconceptions in the game about this term. Because a lot of entrepreneurial courses and a lot of interviews and a lot of successful people, when they say, give me some tips, and passion is one of them. But they don't preface the word passion and they don't speak the rest of it. They only speak of it in whole, but not dissecting it. Passion is great. So if this was a bell curve, passion is great at the beginning, but it has to die down as you go. Year 1, year 2, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. It's gone. Now, it's not as fun, right? But if you're in your business and you're in your purpose, you're fulfilled. We get the wins that I've been receiving lately. People are like, man, why are you acting like that? You can be excited. Because I'm thinking about everything around this thing. Numbers, what happens when I spend this money, what it's contingent upon this and these things. So now it's just a chess play. It's just a move at that point. It's just a move. So that's why the passion of is a line. Anything you put in there, you got be careful. It could be dangerous for you. And a lot of times our businesses are down these ugly rabbit holes because we're too passionate. We're overly passionate. And we're stuck. So have you ever been in a situation with your business where it feels like you checked or checkmated? A lot of times you feel like somebody got you in check and you got to move. Check again. You got to move again. Shit. Check. And you just playing this constant game of running from check. Is because you've played a chess game with yourself in business with passion, not strategy. What will happen if I did this? So we were interviewing for a designer. Two of my employees came in super excited because they found the one graphic designer. And I just want to run this by you. Let's see. They showed me his work. And they said, here's the thing, he's kind of, he has some disabilities. I'm like, I don't care about disabilities. Like, what's the deal with this dude? He's like, and they tell me all these things because they were so passionate about it. And they said, but he would have to commute from Sacramento every day. So I'm like, all right, just do the math on that. Just do the math on that. Bruh's going to drive here and drive home every single day. Even we'll give him 2 telecommute days. How long do you think that's going to last? Yeah, but look at his design. I don't give a shit. Like, you're excited and you like the person. But if you think about it and do the law of probabilities, how would a 3-hour one-way commute do to you? Oh yeah, that's right. And we make decisions in business like that all the time. And we don't even know it. We don't even realize it. We just think the world's hating on us. We think there's some invisible little devils jumping down and fucking with our shit. But really, we're doing it. Stoicism is the way. Stoicism is the way. And if you can get stoic for one moment, like, we're not always going to be stoic. Even when it comes to what you stop doing, this is some of the things I do. If something's really hard for me not to do, man, I just gotta have this shit. I'm not that way 100% of the time. There's moments and pockets of time where I'm strong. It may be short pockets, but it's pockets. You know what I do in them short pockets? I sabotage the fuck out of it. I destroy it. I sabotage it. I tear it to pieces. So that when the times I'm not strong, I gotta do so much work to get to it. Man, I did this to myself. Damn it. Fuck, I don't even feel like doing it no more. You're not the same way all the time. There's pockets of time where you're strong, where you're logical, where you're emotional, where you're angry, where you're stoic. So you and you pick those times, and that's when you pull out and say, you know what? I'm emotional in this decision. You just sold me, and I got the hair on the back of my neck standing up, and this sounds good. So, but I got a rule of thumb that says, I can't, anything that I want, I can wait at least 24 hours to get it. So I'll call you back tomorrow. That's my rule of thumb. So that gives me time to come down off that high, think about it, justify it in my mind why I need it, justify again why I need it, because I intellectualize all the ways how I can make it work. And then over time, intellectualize the ways that why this might be a bad idea. So passion is the same way. If you feel yourself getting passionate, that's a red flag. Step back. Red flag, step back. Shit. I mean, hold on. Damn. Blind spots, it's dangerous. I love the way Nana does it. To me, he does it better than anybody that I've been around. Because as black people, we get emotional. We're emotional people. So, but he's learned how to like turn, like he can fit. You see it in him, like, oh shit, I'm just excited. Like, this dope. This feels good. And then you see another version like jump in his body and be like, so okay, hold on. So tell me, so how does that work for you? And he'll go into a whole different pitch, and you're like, oh shit. All right, well, let me get out my calculator and give you the numbers then. That comes with practice. That comes with practice. And that's a protection. And it's like, I fought being that way for so long, and now I'm like, damn it. I'm becoming that. And like, part of me don't like it because I'm not cool no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the cool person no more at work and this and that, because I'm always shutting everybody's shit down because it either you didn't think it all the way through, or that number don't make no sense, or you too emotional. And I'm like, damn, like the cool Courtney boss is like dying, and I don't want this dude to die, but I gotta kill him because I gotta go to this next level. But passion is at the root of that. Any questions? I mean, Kevin, my guy. Man, I love that dude, man.
So how do you maneuver in that space when you don't feel like the cool Courtney anymore? Does the does the passion for your business supersede trying to look cool, I guess?
Man, good question. Absolutely. So you know what I think about? I think about the times where there was a month where I had to pay payroll with a credit card, and I say, I'd rather all y'all hate me than to ever pay payroll with a credit card. Period. So it's I rather none of y'all like me, but we grow this business than y'all like give me hugs and shit at work like you used to. Because eventually you'll see if we're growing and we're progressive as a company, you're gonna look back and be grateful for where I was and see where I was trying to take you. Like the numbers, the number in the bottom line matters, because at the end of the day, these are work friends. These are people. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't go to their house. They don't come to my house. We're work. We love each other for for the purpose of work, right? So I can't ever get that twisted. So my purpose and my job is to make sure we're growing as a company. And that supersedes my coolness. It just has to. And I tried to hang on with to it for so long, but it's over. At the stage it's over. And so, and part of that is the old story I told as to why we started this. Now that story is even losing its luster because we're in a different phase. So absolutely, I rather be rich and corny than cool and broke any day. Any day. I'd rather be that any day.
It's what Court is describing is called, and I was going to teach this a couple weeks from now. I wanted to teach it tonight, but I was like, okay, it's just too much. But I kind of brief it real fast. It's called path dependency. You start off on a path, and you ever hear people say, "Oh, you flip flop"? It's insult, right? Or you contradict yourself, right? But if you're in business in a world of uncertainty, and things are always changing, you got to be able to change as you gather new information. So you may start off with this one direction, and what passion does, it creates inertia, where you just keep doing the same old shit because you don't want to break the integrity towards your passion. So, but in business, because everything's changing, you got to be able to change with it. If you get to the point that you won't change, then when things change, it'll just be the end of your story. And so path dependency says that you start to define yourself by this path. I'm going this is who I am, this is where I'm going to go. And you refuse to even examine other options, right? Which makes you weaker strategically. So as you make a decision, you want to go a certain direction. What is hard, and like he said, it's a very hard talent. It's something very hard to develop. But you got to be willing to say, even if the path is, as a black man, okay, does that path dependency, does that even work for you? Is that working for the community? Does that work for your children? Like, you guys start sitting down, what decisions am I going to make that's going to trap me on a path that's actually going to work against me because I'm more committed to the belief than I am committed to achieving a certain goal. And so no belief to me is so sacred that will stop the goal I'm trying to achieve in such a short period of time.
Dope.
These classes ain't long enough. I can't believe I said that because I go to bed so early. So early. So I'm gonna just try to narrow it down to one. I'm gonna ask you to speak more on something, but I'm gonna give an example and then maybe you can dig into it. So my perception of what I believe is a passion move for, let's say, new businesses, I don't call them baby or whatnot, is the overcommitment to befriend everyone, clients and employees in the baby or startup stage. And is that a correlation of like passion, or like,
You said overcommitment to befriend everyone?
so like in my first few years, like Nana would always be like, Shakina, everybody ain't your fucking friend. You can't befriend your clients. You can't befriend your employees. Like when you were like, these are my workmates, I'm like, I know all my employees. I know every inch of their house. We do dinners. We do all the things. I know their husbands, kids, all the things like, eh, and and now it's funny because I'm like 10 years in. I'm like, damn, I'm too close. Because now there's no room for me to give feedback. Now there's no room for me to, because like I have a trainer that's been working for me for 5 years, and she was like, you hurt my feelings when you told me this. And I'm like, I just told you to put the shit back. The fuck you. I mean, what do you mean? Like, I just, like, there's a check in and check out list of how the gym should be. And I've noticed this has been wrong for 3 times. So I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just saying maybe refer back to the checkout list. But so I'm realizing that, like, in the beginning, I wanted for everyone to, like, love the mission, what we stood for, and what we did. And now as we're growing, and like I got 5 employees now, and so I can't have that same level of personal relationship or befriendment, nor do I want it because I don't even have the time for it. Is that from passion?
No, I call that just tweaking your strategy, because you have to have a perception in the marketplace. You're building a brand. You're building a brand. Passion is, I got this idea for these types of cakes. And I say, okay, well then tell me, what types of cake? It's my mom's recipe and the recipe that was passed down from her, and it's like it's these particular kind of cakes that built a certain way, and they're the best cakes. Cool. Have you tested them in the market? No, I don't need to test them in the market. Like, they come from my family. Who's your demographic? God told me to do this. I'm gonna do it. Hey, slow down. I can't slow down. I just took a second mortgage up on my house for me. Yo,
That's real talk.
calm the fuck down, or it's gonna be all bad for you. My husband, he don't understand. See, that's why when you teach at class, like, not everybody can come with you. Like, I'm ready to drop him off because he don't believe in my vision. I've had these. No, it's you, cuz. It's you. Too much. You let passion consume you so much that you're blinded. You're blinded. We don't necessarily believe in business plans like that, but it's probably a good idea exercise for you. Just you can sit down and chill the hell on out and write out what you actually are doing, because you're overly passionate.
Let me add to that too. I'm bringing it down really way lower, but it's just as bad. You have a business idea, and you only take feedback from people who like you. And if anybody gives you an opposite opinion, they're hating.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost avoid any feedback because you don't want anybody to offend where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And these people can't see you because you're such a deep genius and you went to this top university, and they just don't see what you see. And you start to even label people and shrink people and exalt certain people. And what you're really doing is your ego is categorizing people to align with your passion.
Mm-hmm. Any questions on passion before we move on to the next slide? We're going to talk more about this next week too. We're going to get back into this one because this is a big one. This is a big one. Again, your passion should go like this. Your passion should go like this.
If I start a business tomorrow, I won't even start with passion, because you know why? Whatever you're doing or what you deliver to the market, if it doesn't align with what other people want, is no value. And I think where we get stuck, we will spend, and I can't tell you how many people this has happened. Can't tell you how many people spend money on logos, websites, branding, mantra development, LLC, space rental, collaborations and partnerships, paying for classes, bought a new vehicle, got it wrapped, all this shit, and then one person purchased their fucking product. They will come in this class and literally argue with us about business. They haven't sold one fucking item. You're not supposed to open your mouth until you sell an item. You're not supposed to have an opinion until you have sell an item. You're in when you start a business, you're in pure curiosity discovery mode. There is no fucking defense. You don't defend nothing. I want to protect the zero behind me. That's what the fuck is. That's what passion gets the game fucked up because you over there arguing with motherfuckers over something that's never happened. You even get offended talking about, oh, they trying to hate on me. You have nothing to hate on. That's like your homeless person talking about, you trying to take my money. You got nothing. What am I trying to take your money for? Yeah, that's why I didn't talk to you because I thought you was gonna run game on me. But you got nothing to lose. But this is how many people are running their business. I promise we hear it all the time because it becomes this thing where you really believe because you like it and maybe a couple people like it, it's going to scale to thousands of people liking it. That's a whole different conversation. 3 people liking something and 1,000 people liking something is nowhere near the same fucking thing. So passion is a big, big issue. And it shows up in low scale, high scale, mid scale, but everybody talks about the high scale extreme. But the low scale is we hear it every fucking day with, no, I got this idea. It's just an idea. Or, one more. Nana, I have this business idea. And before I tell you about it, I need you to sign this document telling me you won't share my idea because it's legally protected. And I'm already working on getting it copywritten. I'm working on a patent for this shit right now because this idea is going to change the world. Passion.
Too much. Yep.
It's a quick. What's the barometer for passion? Like how do you you know how like the government has checks and balances, so you got 3 different branches of the government and each one can check each branch so that one doesn't like supposedly one's not supposed to overpower the other. What is the checks and balances for passion so that you can be honest? Because sometimes, like especially if you do something that you love, if you are like on the path to purpose, it can be challenging to identify when you're in purpose, when you're in passion. So what can you put in place to check against that?
There's several things. Here's one. One is you put your idea up in the hands of somebody who will challenge it, and look at how you feel when they disagree or say it sucks or there's something wrong with it or that's this you got to work on this or that ain't it or I'm not quite feeling it, or it doesn't taste quite right, or it has this kind of aftertaste. How do you feel? Are you on fire? You want to explode? You want to defend? How quick do you want to defend that idea? How quick? That tells you that's probably one of the top 3 indicators of your passion. If you're willing to shit on an idea just like the person across from you is for the sake of making it better, you're a long ways there, right? What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? And it's up to get beat up. You're good. You're good. So that's one of the high ones, is when it gets up for scrutiny. Even if you're in business and your customer comes up to complain about it. Well, no, we did it because, well, this is why we did it this way. Well, and you quick to defend and karate chop everything that they say. Too much passion. Because that person could actually make your product or service better. When you're quick to say, well, they're not my customer, or you're hating on me. Too much passion. Too much passion. You're living in passion. Why'd you use the color green in that logo? Because that's my favorite color. And you have a story as to why. Everything has an emotional story around your business. Everything from the logo to the colors you use to this to that to everything. And if I point to something and say, well, why'd you do that? You got an emotional story about it that you can't. That's your grandma's thing. Shit. All right. Well, next thing. What about this? Well, my brother, he died, and right before he died, he said 412. So that's what the 412 is. So don't change nothing then. Leave it. Too much passion. Are you trying to make money in your business, or are you trying to feel good and be passionate? You can't have both. You can have purpose, and purpose feels way better than passion. Purpose feels way better than passion. You know what purpose feels like? Feels like after you get a stretch from tomorrow and it's the session's over and you're just sitting on the chair
Man, don't do that.
and you're like hella high and you don't know where to go because you're confused. That's purpose.
By the way, those of you who haven't got a massage by Shamara, and I think Shakina's now doing it too, but Shamara will have you feel like you done some drugs.
Yeah, it's a high. It's a natural high. Real talk. Next slide. Oh, we got it. Entrepreneurship. This didn't age well, huh? Entrepreneurship is a team sport. If you're on some individualist shit, still all ego. You cannot build anything bigger than yourself with just yourself, or you being the forefront, or you being that person. You will fail because entrepreneurship is a team sport. You play a role in your game. It's not the other way around. Now, whatever role you in, if you don't have other players who are willing to dedicate themselves to your game just like you are, you will lose. You will lose. It's a team sport, just like Boston did. Next slide. Danielle, so fresh. Be a sponge. That goes back to holding coats. Be a sponge. Be a sponge. You got to learn, like, we call it palms down or palms up. A lot of people are palms down. They want to tell you what they know. I know this, I know that. I'm doing big things. If you be a sponge, you're always absorbing. You're constantly absorbing information, people, things that can help you in your business. I've learned some amazing things from the most unlikely people. Dope fiends, homeless people, old folks, children, little kids. Like, when you're a sponge, wisdom comes from so many different places. I was teaching my daughter the other day how to play chess. So I'm giving her all the little moves of each thing. And so I said, this is the queen right here. The queen's the most powerful piece on the board. And she said, wait, since I'm in control of this, aren't I the most powerful piece on the board? I said, yeah, I guess so. So my brother comes in and she's like, yeah, I just taught daddy that I'm the most powerful piece on the board, not the queen. And I'm like, there you go. Last slide. You're a genius, right? You're a genius, right? We geniuses, right? We love to throw that term around. We geniuses. We're geniuses. Have you ever met a broke genius? Like, we throw that term around, but we're not playing the genius game in entrepreneurship. We're playing the scaling, the financial scaling game. That's the game we're playing. You can be genius and broke as fuck. You can be genius and a billionaire. But it's two different games. And a lot of times we're playing the game because we want people to perceive us as, oh, they're brilliant, oh, they're geniuses, or that doesn't cash any checks. I met some of the most basic folks who make lots and lots of money. Basic psychology, simple thinking. It's just they hold on to those ideologies that they have that generates revenue for them, and they study it like the back of they study it like their religion, and that's how they've earned their money. We get out this genius game. Gives a shit if we genius. People think we genius. Become successful. Grow your business. Learn. Any questions? This was a dope dialogue. Thank you for y'all your inputs. Any questions? Nope. Brief intermission. And we about to.
I told my partner Kevin, because we worked out today. My microphone too loud? It seems like it's. Might turn me down a little bit. Okay, that sounds about right. But I want to say real quick, at the gym today, y'all gonna have to hear this one more time. I threw up 365 pounds at the age of 56. You understand me on the bench press? Yeah, I got proof and I got a witness. So I told him, I said, if I throw this 365, everybody about to hear about this. Strangers, old people, everybody about to hear about this 365. So to the 200 students who are going to listen to this class throughout this week, just know this 56-year-old man can throw up that iron steel. Anyway, before we get started. Huh? Hey, well, look, the thing is this. Look here. Look, and next week I'm going to plan on throwing a 385. I'm going to come back with my announcement. I might wear special colors the next time y'all see me because it's going to be on some Eagle stuff. But anyway, let's go to my first slide. So you guys know that we had a young sister in here the other day, and she asked a question about intuition. And I think they did a Fortune 4000 interview, and I think 75% of them said they use their intuition at certain times in business. And I thought there was a need to bring clarity to instinct and intuition, but quickly, because I have a lot that I want to share tonight. And I want to start from this angle that you probably wouldn't expect. It's the bastardizing or the charlatan usage of education. Are you aware that you don't have access to all your knowledge at all times? Let me say this again. You don't have access to all of your knowledge. Many of us go around and we say, I don't understand why I did that. I went to college. I'm highly educated. I know these things. But we forget that in some circumstances, human beings think through our emotions. In some circumstances, like for example, when we are in survival mode, which is a form of tunneling, we come binary. We see just right or wrong, good or bad, choice A, choice B. The third one could be even with a situation where we have some type of priming moment that's happening, where we came into contact with some new information and we only can see that information at the moment. And so a lot of times we don't realize that because we don't always have access to all of our information, sometimes you might even think you're stupid. If you don't feel like you're good enough for our culture, that's a big thing. So if you don't have access to all your knowledge at all times, you might say, if somebody asks you a question, you can't answer it, or you make a mistake, you shame yourself because you say, I should have known better. But that's just not how the brain works. So what often compensates for that is intuition and so-called perceived instinct. So intuition is often information you don't have complete access to, but you know something's not right. It don't make sense. And maybe if I think about it long enough, I can figure out what it is. In this class, often we have to train ourselves to be prepared to respond to quick questions that I may have covered 2 or 3 years ago. And sometimes I have to come back the following class and answer your question because I have to get that file cabinet open because it's been sealed for so goddamn long, right? But what you have to, this is why walking around bragging about education as a status symbol is a false value. Because as an entrepreneur, you will not always have information to all. You will not always have access to all the information. Another thing that happens with a lot of our learning is you don't learn unless you process. So if you come to this class and you like, aha, but you leave here, you don't talk to anybody about it, you don't practice it, you don't like connect it in your brain, Next week or 2 weeks from now, you might as well say you never learned anything. So a lot of times with instinct and intuition is part of the process of a lot of development and training and process that you will forget more than you learn. And a lot of times that plugs into this perceived process of intuition. Now, this is the only time intuition works so well. So we live in a corporate society, right? The reason I never pushed intuition amongst entrepreneurs because you guys don't deal with the same variables. Intuition works best when you're doing something that you always do and has the same results. So when you have a corporate job and you go do the same thing every day and has similar results, intuition works really, really well. But if you're in a world where things are random and always changing, intuition could be a weakness. See the difference? So there's a reason for entrepreneurs, we have to build a lot of tools and relationships and environments to support our decision making. It is quite easy for you to think that at the end of the day, you could make all decisions by yourself. We want to believe that that's our ego. Tell us we can just sit here, see a problem, look at the data, make the best decision. But we don't realize that that's not possible. Actually, most of our decisions are influenced by situations we're in. I'm gonna get to this. I'll get into that. I want to go deeper into that next week. But situation trumps individuals. But in most of our minds, we think individuals trump situations. And so we don't realize it's important to design all of our situations to maximize our individual output. To think that you could just come in this class, read a book, and then just go out there as a lone wolf and solve all the problems in the world, you actually compromise yourself because you don't see all the invisible influences that's driving the way you're processing your reality. Now, if I talk to you afterwards and I explain to you the solution, and you go, I knew that. No, you didn't. That's hindsight bias. And what you don't understand is hindsight bias doesn't mean you know that. Without designing foresight tools, then you're going to be a victim of hindsight conversations moving forward. So instinct and intuition can be trained, but it is not as strong as you think as an entrepreneur. We are living in different variables. That's why majority of people say, oh, I believe in intuition. They're right, because in that environment, if they put out A, they get B back, because the environment designs this false sense of reality. But in the outside world where all the variables are always moving and changing, intuition can betray you. That's why thinking is required to be an entrepreneur. You cannot take the lazy route of just following the crowd, simplifying everything, going with your feelings, praying about it, and changing the world. It requires for you to process some things and move differently than the majority of the people around you. I'm keeping this so short because I'm gonna kind of extend this one within the next 3 weeks. It's gonna go really, really deep, way further than this. But I wanted to land in that instinct and intuition that yes, you can train that, but it works best in an environment that pretty much is predictable. When you're in a non-predictable environment, it's not your best friend. Next slide. Shabisha, you ready? I'm gonna put some work on you. But this is one of the most powerful. This is the only thing I'm going to teach that's not going to be part of the book today. But this one here is so damn powerful. If you have your cell phones, take a picture of this one. This is one where this is going to explain so much to you. You ready, Shabisha?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to talk about non-linearities. Okay. And this is something your brain does not like. I'm going to give you examples of this. I'm going to give you all these different angles on this. I'm going to really show you this space where it feels like you're not making a decision, but you're making a decision. Guys ready?
Yep. People think that if, say, two variables are causally linked, then a steady input in one variable should always yield a result in the other one.
Okay.
Our emotional apparatus is designed for linear causality.
Okay, I'm gonna clean it up for you a second. Keep going.
For instance, you study every day and learn something in proportion to your studies.
So let me show you. Let me express this real quick. So let's use that word. You study every day and learn something in proportion to your studies, right? This is how your brain thinks. Or I work out every day and I gain a result in relationship to my workout. So you hear some people like when they first work out with you, if you ever worked out a long time and somebody comes and work out with you, they always start off with, I want to do this super crazy workout. I want to work out all night for 7 days straight because I saw this training idea, right? And it sounds really good. You might think and then sometimes you might think as somebody who's in this different rhythm of training, you might think, well, I don't think I want to do that, but I guess that could work. Right? You said, I guess that could work. Or let's say I work really, really hard. I don't understand why I'm successful. I'm grinding every night, and it doesn't seem like my business is growing. Now, keep that. For instance, you work very hard, work out really hard, or you study every day and learn something in proportion to your studies. That's how your brain processes it. That's what your emotion says. That's what your emotion expects to happen, right? Keep going.
If you do not feel that you are going anywhere, your emotions will cause you to become demoralized.
So this happens in class all the time. People take this class, they want to take 3 classes and life's changed. They come up to me, Nana, how can I change my life right away, right? And I tell them, hey, this is a long game. And in that long game, if anybody ever started the long game, I used to talk about this back in the days. I say it's like walking down a dark, dark tunnel, and somebody tells you that this tunnel, you'll be in this tunnel for months, but at the end, it's going to be so worth it. But all you have is that word of that person. You have no visual, you have nothing to touch, no tangibles. And many people will say, after about 1 week walking down this tunnel, man, fuck this shit. He got the game fucked up. Right? How many people come in this class and you tell them, hey, this is a long process. And they can't wait to tell me how the class is working every week. I know they're in dissolute. They know they're going through, they're delusional. I know they're delusional. Now, I don't say anything because why? I don't want to be the asshole. Right? I don't want to be like, yo, the fuck you talking about? Your life ain't changed at all. Remember the rule I said last week? If you grow too fast, you're fragile. Things that grow slow are strong. So if you're now fast change, you just told me about your fragility and whoever you think you are. I mean that once you get hit in the face, you're going back to the windmill. All that karate ain't gonna be worth shit, right? So let's keep going that one.
But reality rarely gives us the privilege of a satisfying linear positive progression.
Okay, so true reality doesn't work the way you think it should feel. So if you work out in the gym for 3 months, you may see 0 results. The rule says short-term workout, no value. Rule says read 3 books, you ain't changed shit. Rule says worked hard tonight, worked hard yesterday, worked hard next week, and your numbers, matter of fact, your numbers are flatline. You're thinking, oh, this shit ain't working. Right? Now, go back to court teaching survival mode and being transactional. You're going to be overweighted on, if I put this in, if I don't get something back, this must be stupid. You see where I'm going with this? You are forced to play the short game because your brain is so linear. You're looking for, I put this out, I want this back. I put this out, I want this back, right? But some things mean that you will put out all this energy and you'll see 0 results. Keep going.
You may study for a year and learn nothing.
Wait, did she say, did that line say you may study for a year and learn nothing? Now you see how fragile you sound to me now? Oh, no, I understand where you're coming from. Last year I was like that. My ego's better now. You may study for a year and learn nothing. Keep going.
Then, unless you are disheartened by the empty results and give up, something will come to you in a flash.
So if you can get past the disheartening moment, the moments when you want to give up or you want to quit, when you feel like this shit is stupid, it will come to you in a flash. Keep going.
My partner, Mark S.
Spitznagel.
Mark Spitznagel summarizes it as follows. Imagine yourself practicing the piano every day for a long time, barely being able to perform chopsticks, then suddenly finding yourself capable of playing Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff, yeah, I think that's, I don't play classical music. Go ahead.
Owing to this nonlinearity, people cannot comprehend the nature of the rare event.
So what they're saying is this. You can be in this class working on your business every day. And when it hits, it's going to hit, but no man will know the day or time. Not even you. You won't know when it's going to hit. You got to be committed to the game. And you may get close, fail, come close, fail, and then finally some number starts to work for you. But many of us, even in working out, if you ever start working out, let's say, when you're younger, it's a little different. You get a linear effect. Like when you're 20, you work out, stomach's gone by next week, right? When you hit your 30s, you fall into non-linearity when it comes to working out. And for the first 6 months, all you got to show is sweat. Sweat and new shoes, right? But about 8 months to a year, it just flips. And the pain goes away, the aches go away, and you start seeing results. All of a sudden, you start getting wind and oxygen. It took, for a whole year, you couldn't make it up that hill no matter how many times you tried. You tried every time. It felt like, dear Jesus, why is this hill so evil? It must be from Satan. And then all of a sudden, one day, it just snaps on, and you're like, oh, shit, it's working. And it's hard. Think about it. I'm using working industry because the business industry is very similar to the workout industry. But you have all these people around you talking about all the quick ways and the 5 steps and the quick smooth moves and the easy way and how to bypass this and let me just simplify this for you. All this linear dialogue that doesn't fit reality at all. Now you guys kind of see why I hate self-help so much? Because it's flooded with all this 6 steps, 7 steps. Just take this seminar and it's feeding on your desire because your brain has a flaw of seeing life through linearity, but the way things really work in this world is nonlinear. So for example, my success today started at the age of 27. Everything I did from 27 up to this point was part of my growth, that all the accumulation of growth allows me to sit here and be able to navigate so much better than somebody who just got into the game yesterday, even though they just came out of Harvard. Now, it doesn't mean that person is not smarter or smarter than me. They're on the right path. But a lot of times we're trying to measure these paths by linear rules when it's very non-linear. You guys getting this? This is some dope ass shit. Let's go. Finish it up.
This summarizes why there are routes to success that are non-random, but very few people have the mental stamina to follow them.
Ooh.
Those who go
Stop. Very few people have the mental stamina to follow what it takes to get there. I think, who was it posted? Oh, Kaja posted a wonderful article about the McBride sisters. It said 18 years in the business. It didn't say last 6 months they blew up. 18 years in the business. If they sat down with you and talked about the 18 years, you'd be like, wrap it up. Whew, we didn't get to the end. So how'd you get the bag? Those 17 years was the journey. They gave them the bag. By the time the camera hits that person, it looks like it's only been 3 to 4 years. Right? Because in those other days, their hair was down. You didn't give a shit about what they had to say. Their bag looked like everybody else's bag. But they had the stamina. Working out, parenting, life, everything you could think, relationships. This shit is about stamina. This shit is not about instant gratification. The only shit that gives you instant gratification is sitcoms. And many of y'all move like you're looking for life to give you this sitcom response to shit. And it doesn't work that way. When you want to work on this business stuff, it's a journey. And you know how I always talk about soft ass shit and weak ass shit and fragile ass shit? It's because you need a certain amount of strength to get through this. I got a podcast coming out this week by Brene Brown. She said, I don't use the word safe space.
I hate that.
She goes, you know what I use in this space? She goes, I use it. I think she said she uses
Brave space.
No, brave space or she uses she's the opposite side. She said it requires strength to be in this space. It requires bravery to be in this space, not safety. That whole fragile undertone of, oh my God, you're just a soft flower, just waiting for yourself to grow. Hey, hell animal's about to walk on top of you. Can you still stand? This is a long game. But many of you guys read these books and like, well, then how'd you get that knowledge? I always become puzzled when people say, how'd you get that knowledge? If I said, well, shit, 10 years, you say, wait, no. What book should I read? Hell of them.
Define hella.
For my East Coast and Midwest and Southern folks, like I read, let's say minimal of an hour a day. I'm probably this year alone already about 30 books. And these 30 books are connecting the dots and give me different perspective to it. I finally go, oh, got it. And as it opens up these new layers, even when I get it, now I got to apply it to the real world. Then I got to test it to only find out, well, contextually, it doesn't work that way. Or it may work for this group of people, but it won't work for this group of people. Or once I throw it into a bigger system, it doesn't have the same variable as if it works on a micro scale, right? But even when I'm analyzing, and I'm always working to prove myself wrong so I don't become a victim of my own tunneling. So those years of making mistakes, trying stuff, I'm talking about to the point there's been days my heart probably got to 180 and I was standing still. Because I'm just so, oh God, I'm about to lose everything. And my heart, zzz. And after that, the knowledge and the contextual alignment that I receive from that, it puts me in a place to say that all that's accumulation. It wasn't a direct straight path, like a compounded baked piece and piece. It was randomly pieces coming together, and in that process, I formed direction and growth. Where many of you guys look at it as a straight line. Remember, in nature, there's very few straight lines. Very few straight lines. And many of you guys are looking at this knowledge thing or this growth thing or this business thing as a straight line. And that's just not how the reality works. Those who go the extra mile, so that last sentence is, go ahead, Shamisha.
Those who go the extra mile are rewarded.
That's the difference. That's that woof. That's that stamina. That's that strength we keep talking about. Well, when you're in a corporate job, you don't need that. You don't need that. We don't need this stuff. Go ahead, Shamisha.
I have a question. So I'm hearing, what I'm taking from this is, just to summarize, how long is it going to take you to learn it? As long as it takes you to learn it. Is it about a safe space? No, you're going to have to be brave and go the extra mile because you're not always going to see results. It's not going to be one-to-one. You're not going to see it as fast as you think you should. You're just going to have to keep going. And no, you're not going to have a whole lot of assurances along the way to like cheer you on. You're just going to have to keep going.
And when it hits, it's going to hit at different times. It's the same thing like what makes something go viral, right? Mm-hmm. If there's no there's really, I think physics can get close to it, but there's really no math for when things go viral. Mm-hmm. But what we do know is that when it happens, it just happens. And the cool part is that it's hard for us to sell because we love causations. We love to be able to explain everything. But viral is one of those rules of probability that says when it happens, it just happens. And yet it never happened to the one who's not willing to
go the extra mile. So I'm thinking about the podcast 2 podcasts ago, and they were talking about NFTs, right? Everybody thought they was going to get rich quick. There was a whole lot of assumptions. You didn't get it. But so my question is, I don't know much about the tech space, but it seems like to me they're trying to do something very quickly, right? So there's all this focus on unicorns and do the thing. What model are they using that I'm not, like, what model are they, what is that?
So, okay, let me share something that's fun. So your perception's off. Let me fix it for you.
Okay.
But it's going to make you be like, oh, okay. They call it the sandcastle effect. This is how the sandcastle effect, now stay with me. You're building a sandcastle outside, right? And as you're building it, but when you get to a certain height, the whole sandcastle falls. Was it the last sand fall, or was the whole principle had flaw that built into it? Now let's flip that 180 degrees and look at it from another angle. This is the ultimate unfairness of one of the ultimate unfairness of life. Something quick in Silicon Valley is not quick. Bill Gates was the last to benefit, like the tip of the sand, from all the work that came before them, and then they got the last piece of sand and they popped. But it really wasn't about just Bill Gates. And a lot of times other entrepreneurs live in envy and suffer because they're like, well, he's not the smartest, he wasn't the first, he wasn't this. I'm like, yeah, but that's one of the unfair rules of life. It's like a lot of times you can get blamed for something even though you was the last person to do it, but you wasn't the person that caused the infrastructure to collapse. You can also benefit from as the last person to engage something that everybody. So when something's quick, they're all capitalizing on so much stuff that's been happening over 20, 30 decades. By the time that one person introduces the idea, you think this person is a master genius when they're just the last person to capitalize on all the efforts that came before them. And the people that beneath them get no acknowledgement. Unfair, such is life.
So you're saying it's just lightning in a bottle is happening there too. It's not
Yes.
really about.
There's so many
about
rules
okay.
of randomness and probability and under the Monte Carlo math equation that don't make sense to your intuitive nature, but it's how you think about reality and how reality works are two different things. And quite often we struggle because we want to make reality fit to our belief as opposed to adjust our beliefs to reality.
Flat Earth thinking.
Flat Earth thinking. Go ahead. I love you for this every time. Keep going, Brand.
To the end of this slide when it was talking about stamina. So, I mean, it's an easy correlation for me when it comes to fitness, but curious if it applies across the board. My understanding of how to build stamina is just constantly seeking engagement through friction. Is it the same across the board? Like if I want to get stronger, I know I got to keep going to the gym, ripping my muscles apart, and each time they get a little bit stronger, and with proper programming, I'm gonna get stronger. But is stamina the same when it comes to like relationships or business growth? Is it the engagement of friction?
Engagement friction is part of the process, right? All growth. Nothing grows in comfort zone. So there always has to be a degree of friction as part of our growth process. But think about just showing up to the gym. Just showing up to the gym, right? A lot of people can't show up all the time. I mean, think about the things you've been into. Most of the competition that if you've been in anything for a long time, you don't beat. Most of your competition are not super talented people. Most of your competition fall off from the journey. They're like, I don't try to do all that. I'm trying to find some quick wins because they're really going through survival mode. They're not bad. They're not flawed human beings. They're just stuck in survival mode. So they're trying to find all these shortcuts. They're just shortcut guys. They read every shortcut book made to man. They pay money to pick up shortcuts. You have to understand. Unfortunately, to take the long journey, you have to know that that's what it is. I think many of us think what it is the short way. And so in relationships, if you watch, remember in the book Stuck, she said, most television shows or relationships are toxic because you guys are looking for these short runs, linear responses. I showed up the other day, I made him a cake and he wasn't happy. So I don't think we should be together. What? Right? There's just these examples or I'm looking for a guy. I would never date a bus driver because if he just, what? I don't, all bus drivers are the same? What does that mean, right? I understand you don't want to take a blue-collar guy who says, I don't want to go nowhere in life. I just want to drive this bus, go home, and leave the fuck alone. Okay, I get that. But what if he's driving a bus while he's working on ideas because his idea just hasn't matured yet, right? That's part of that non-linearity part of evolution. In relationships, it is not going to be, I put this in, I get this back. I put this in, I get this back. It's going to be accumulation of multiple things over time that gives value to the relationship. And you receive value from the relationship, right? But you got to know that's how the world works. But yet most of us are hypnotized and brainwashed by hours and years of social media and television that we're literally moving through the world in a linear rhythm. And then we're constantly just failing at everything. And most of us are isolated as fuck because everybody else sucks. No, you don't realize how the game works. Like, I was telling this lady the other day on the stairs, I was like, no, people don't suck. People are people. It's you that, if you believe that people suck, then it's your belief that sucks. Because people do what people do. Ignorance is part of individuals can be ignorant and the system still can be brilliant. There could be a lot of dumb people in the society, but the other day I ride my bike and I'm brothers acting a fool around me. I'm watching these cats do these bips and all this other silly shit. Brother rolls up to me the other day and goes, "Hey brother, I see you riding your bike. Hang in there, brother. Proud of you." And take off. And he reminded me that, hey, don't buy into these ideas. Because once you buy into like, this is the way the world is, it starts to paint itself. And it starts to color everything you see from that point on. And then guess what? You produce what you get. Life ain't giving it to you. Your belief is producing what you get. So once you realize, whoa, this shit is non-linear and it's not transactional. And as you put something back into it, you're going to have to put a lot into something sometimes to get a little bit back. Mamas, tell me if that doesn't work for kids. You got to pour into your kids a plethora of stuff and only to wait till they're 30 and go, "Mama, thanks for believing in me." And you got cuts and bruises and wraps and all kind of shit. You on IVs and breathing machines and all kind of shit, right? That's how life works. This shit is non-linear. Cut it out. Right? But we've been taught this whole time, and all this self-help trash is preaching linearity. If you just do this, you will be successful. Pimp. Could you tell them if they just do this 1,000 times, they might be successful, but you got to mix with a whole bunch of other shit, and in combination of other shit, and the people that surround you, and the environment you design for you, you may achieve that shit. But it's easier and it's more comforting to believe if I just do these 10 things, if I just read that one book. Now, give me I'm having this big complex problem that's comes from multiple layers of complexity. Give me an answer, Nana. And you know what my new response to people has been? Well, let's discover it together. What the fuck I'm gonna give you an answer for? I'm not TV. You didn't rub a bottle and I come out like, "Oh, give me your 3 wishes." No, it doesn't work that way. But we've been primed in that direction for so damn long that now we're in these business classes going, how many times have you heard, Court? I went to Court class twice. How do you go to this class twice and have the ability to evaluate this class under two or 3 times? Matter of fact, I can even tell you within a year you can't evaluate this class. Anybody that's been in this class, which I say half of the students that are still in the class have been here for more than 2 years. They would tell you within 2 years the class has drastically changed. Because, huh? Yeah, okay. So sometimes, here's a rule. When Josh speak, act like it's just the ants outside. Just hear. So anyway, so I wanted to hit that non-linearity, like really process this one. Go home and read this one. If it's on your screen at home, throw it up on the screen for those at home real quick so you can copy it, screen copy it. But this is one you want to process because this gives you context that this is a journey of faith. This is not a journey of guaranteed acts. You're not going to get transactional responses every time you put something in. It's going to give you something back. If anybody knows, like if you're in a relationship, let's say you're the person that cook all the time. There's many nights people will just tear that food up and forget to say they appreciate it. But you'll know they love it the day you don't cook. They all be like, "What the hell is going on? Are we under attack? What's this? Is terrorism?" Right? Because at the end of the day, this shit is the long game we're playing. But this constantly looking for instant responses to all of our actions is causing us to quit too soon. We're quitting too soon. I'm ready to quit. What are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? I mean, how many Sanford and Sons do you need to watch? What you gonna do? All right, let's go. Next one. Next slide. Ready? Let's jump into this now. We're going back to the map. It's not the terrain. I want to flow tonight. Let's go.
Economist Eleanor Ostrom wrote about being cautious with maps and models when looking at different governance structures for common resources.
So when you're looking at governing structures, I'm going to make this even doper for you. When you're looking at a big business, when you're looking at your company, when you're looking at a large organization, when you're looking at a large group of people, be careful using maps to interpret what's going on with the structure. Keep going.
She was worried that the tragedy of the commons model, which shows how a shared resource can become destroyed through bad incentives, was too general and did not account for how people in reality solve the problem. She explained the limitation of using models to guide public policy, namely that they often become metaphors.
So this is kind of powerful. I have to break some of these lessons up into multiple pieces because I'm not doing it justice to explain it quickly, but I'm gonna just give you the gist at this point. We're going to learn about complex adaptive systems. Complex adaptive systems are large groups of people or large group of systems of things that move together, and it functions as a large group. For example, there's cars. Those are individual. What's the word I'm looking for? Homogeneity. Oh, there's a word. But they're individual parts, right? But traffic, which is a combination of multiple cars, has a separate personality than the individual cars. Ants are not smart, but colonies are smart. If you ask an ant why you do something, they would tell you, I don't fucking know. But their individual intelligence doesn't give you any insight on the group intelligence. You guys get me with that so far? So groups have a separate intelligence that's independent of the individual parts. You guys with me so far? Any questions? Okay. So if you're using a map to just try to talk about, black people, white people, Asian people, your analysis is flawed. It's too metaphoric. Because groups are constantly evolving and changing. And if you look, I know, and then this is how you suck. You'll say, black people, because I met this one, no, white people, right? I don't really like them because this one white guy I met. Wait, what? It's not the same thing. We know Asian culture. So there's 4 billion people. You say, what about them? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? And this is critical because go back to that passion comment. You're passionate. Oh, I know black people. You don't. You're using a map to read the market of a label, and the label doesn't exist outside of your belief system. I know women. You don't. I know men. You don't.
Hey. Your shade over here in the corner.
I know children. You don't. I was telling Kev today, I said, here's the funny thing about children. Your grandparents can't really tell you how to raise your kids in totality. Because all the variables that their kids existed in, your kids don't exist in. So all their rules and values, you have to learn a lot of new values for yourself. You can't be lazy enough to be like, Grandma, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, Grandma. Well, baby, go out there and milk the cow. That's what I used to do. Come on, Grandma. Right? But that's how silly the ideas are. And so when you're looking at groups, you have to be careful. Government groups do this to black people with these nonprofits all the time. They need money. They need this. They ain't sat down with you for 5 fucking seconds and did any type of deep observations, pulled any data, and went through this process of, there's ways to observe and gain emergence insight, but there's no emergence insight because you're not that valuable to them. So they just kind of come with these cool metaphors, throw them on top of it. Then y'all go down there and y'all play shoulder to shoulder with these white people. Oh, they really like us. These liberals are really with us. They don't see you, brother. They see their metaphors is in their head. And often they underserve us because they don't understand the complexity of our system. Next slide. Go ahead.
Ostrom asserts that one of the main values of using models as maps in public policy discussions is the thinking that is generated. They are tools for exploration, not doctrines to force conformity. They are guidebooks, not laws.
Stop. I'm going to give it to your business. So that's kind of easy in government. They're saying, if you're going to work on a policy to work with the LGBTQ plus community, there's nothing there. There are guides where you can start, but you better not use that as policy, right? Let me show you that how it's said in business. I think black people are going to love this product. That's a starting point, passion. Now you decide to take off on that journey, there's no more value to you. Now you have to go into observation and alignment. You see the difference? So in the beginning, You can use a mapping idea and passion to go, I think black people are going to love this product. But after you say that, which motivates you to get out the bed, because remember, your emotions get you out of bed. And your passion becomes an amplified emotion to get you out your goddamn bed. But once you on the journey, you got to say the map is not the terrain. I don't really know black people, so I got to really make sure I understand who I'm seeking to serve. You see the difference? I just gave you a strategy on how to manage your passion and turn it into a strategy to go from an idea, a belief, a connection to a culture to actually landing it and making sure that it's aligned. Cool? Next slide. Oh, whoa. Go ahead.
Reality is the ultimate update. When we enter new and unfamiliar territory, it's nice to have a map on hand. Everything from traveling to a new city to becoming a parent for the first time has maps that we can use to improve our ability to navigate the terrain.
Pause. I like the parent piece for a second. Our relationship piece, our business piece, or anything that you're into piece. When you read the books, they're just maps. They're not reality. They're a good starting point, but don't beat yourself up because you can't stay with the book. It might be irrelevant to your world. Keep going.
But territories change, sometimes faster than the maps and models that describe them. We can and should update them based on our own experiences in the territory. That's how good maps are built, feedback loops created by explorers.
That's the part where your ego comes in. See, remember I told you some of these strategies you would never have access to? The biggest word on that sentence, the biggest one that should have been amplified, bold, and large is the feedback loops created by the explorers. You can read this. Okay, this is what I know. So sometimes I'll listen. I listen to a lot of different people speak about business because I'm trying to find new voices to articulate complex ideas in different ways. I can tell the entrepreneurs from the non-entrepreneurs. Their journeys are too smooth. It sounds like it sounds like being on BART going from Oakland to San Francisco to school, and you parked at West Oakland BART on a Sunday. It just sounds too smooth. They don't know how to tell you, look, go on Sundays and you're cool. But if you go on Mondays, if you go this hour here, this is what you're going to experience. They don't have any contextual conversation. The reason a lot of people who have jobs will never know this, because your environments don't change fast enough. They change slowly. But when you're out here in the real world, let's go to Court Smith's business. Court Smith, he sells clothes. He didn't design the first basketball clothing, but he's really a marketing company that markets a design that's already been here. But the industry's fickle. They wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't want that shit no more. He don't get to say, but I believe, I want to, I think this is what I want to do. And it's changing in small fractions all the time. Oh, everybody's wearing red. We want blue this week. You know what? I want to do something different. And this guy just won a championship. Oh, this guy's about to go to the NBA. Every day he's getting new data that's dropping on his lap every day. And if he doesn't position himself in the market correctly, right? But if he's just looking at maps and he got 5 layers of employees, he has a salesperson that's actually talking to people, and he doesn't take feedback from his salesperson to upload it to him, he's moving too slow for his industry. This competition knocks him out. Straight up.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
I was just thinking about in that last sentence where there was a guy in the late 1800s. He wanted to figure out where the path of butterflies. He lived somewhere in the East Coast. But what he did was he put an ad out on the back of a comic book, the last page, and say, hey, if you see a butterfly that looks like this, can you just send me something in the mail saying you've seen it? And he starts slowly getting mail saying, I see it here, I see it here, I see it here. And he had a big map of the United States. And over time, he starts seeing the pattern of the path of the butterfly to go hibernate. But then he died. And another man, white man, picked up where he left off. And with no technology in the 1800s, they figured out the complete path of the butterfly down to Mexico. Wow. And they drove down to Mexico and seen all those butterflies in one location. Wow. And was like, That's the power of the people. It's created by the explorers. And if you think you that the shit, one person, you won't get there. It's created by the people.
That's how tight. Next slide.
We can think of stereotypes as maps.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are useful. We have to process large amounts of information every day, and simplified chunks, such as stereotypes, can help us sort through this information with efficiency. The danger is when, like with all maps, we forget the territory is more complex.
So real quick, you at a barbecue. Y'all be like, and say you be like, man, you know how Latinos are, you know how they get down. And you laugh about it. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a purification moment. But if it comes time to make an investment, you better not ever say Latinos nothing. There's so many variations. You can't say black people nothing. You can't say, so it's knowing that you don't remove it from your context, but okay. Going back to what Court said earlier, how you go into different modes. I can be laughing with you about, yeah, you know, black people, like, you said, we're going to put some money, wait, what, you going to put money where? Because I realize now you're using a map as its reality. You're not seeing reality for what it is. You think a stereotype. You think LGBTQ plus is something. You think trans is something. You think women is something. You think children are, no, those things are all over the place. And if you seek to serve, go back to the concept of serving people. Imagine you go into a restaurant and the waiter walks up to you and go, oh, you a black woman? Oh, y'all like this. Here you go. You would say, this racist No, he's not. But that's how you guys move with stereotypes. And when you send your product to the market and you're like, yeah, let's just put a Latino dude, you know, holding a piece of corn with some cheese on it and shit, and he's smiling, right? Now, to somebody who like a group community that loves corn, they might be like, you see me. Go to another community, they'd be like, what the hell? Right? It's knowing you don't have the knowledge, Sway. Next one.
In the early 1900s,
Oh, this is so painful.
Europeans were snapping pictures all over Palestine, leaving a record that may have reflected their ethnographic perspective, but did not cover Karimeh Aboud's perception of her culture. She began to take pictures of those around her, becoming the first female Arab to set up her own photo studio in Palestine.
Keep going.
Her pictures reflected a different take on the territory. She rejected the European style and aimed to capture the middle class as they were. Mm-hmm. She tried to let her camera record the territory as she saw it versus...
Go ahead. Okay, Go read this because it's all cut together. Keep read this one.
We do have to remember, though, that a map captures a territory at a moment in time. Just because it might have done a good job at depicting what was, there is no guarantee that it depicts that there is now or what will be there in the future. The faster the rate of change in the territory, the harder it will be for a map to keep up to date.
So maps have to change as fast as reality is changing. Let's say you did an intern with Court 2 years ago, and he poured all of his knowledge into you, and you went away and got it, and you went to college and went to Africa, came back and started exactly where you left off. All your information is invalid. That map is already outdated. 2, this is a deeper point. This is kind of highlighting. Pay attention to who map you're looking at. Pay attention to who map you're looking at. One of the reasons the black community struggles so hard, we keep looking at white people's map versus their map of our culture. We can't see we got to design our own maps. Like the lady in Palestine, you got to start taking maps of how your people move. If you watch white people news, you read their education, and you follow their beliefs, don't be surprised if your map don't work on your people. Also, if you accept somebody else's map, you will not see the culture. The map if you accept somebody else's map, you won't see the reality and opportunities that your reality produces. Go ahead, Shabisha.
So I'm trying to see the connection and maybe I shouldn't be thinking about it, or it's not the best to think about it this way, but the connection between nonlinearity and the map is not the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
I need help with that.
So nonlinearity is this idea that growth is not this linear process, it's accumulation of multiple things, and when it lands, where most of us want to believe it's a transactional one in, one out.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're moving throughout our day, we're making everyday decisions, right? I need to go here as opposed to there. Well, those are coming from a map of what you need to do, right? You don't have the results. Now, you may, because of hindsight bias, you might think, yeah, I knew I was supposed to do this, but you didn't really know. So you have a whole bunch of maps of how to move out through your day. The problem with our maps is we don't update them fast enough. It's inertia. We get stuck in the way the maps have always worked, and we continue to repeat it over and over. Even when it's not working, we're loyal to the map.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's, even the industry, like this is so powerful in the culture now of AI. Right? Artificial intelligence is saying, hey, all the maps you guys have ever used, all your maps are about to get disrupted heavily,
Mm-hmm.
right? But some of you are not going to change because you're so in love with the way you get this path dependency, this mapping, this inertia of this is how we've always done it. Your maps have to always change. So even for 510 Media, I'm looking at the rhythm of AI development to know how to reposition my company so I'm still in a position of power as AI disrupts all of the maps. But if I found this egotistical value in my relationship to this beautiful map that I even helped design, and everything changes, I die with my ego. Cold fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
Cold fucking game. They're not really connected. They're two different ways of approaching it, looking at how life is showing up. So
It's like I'm
yeah, they're not connected. They're not. Don't connect those two.
Okay.
And so the mapping thing is so cold because you hear this. Let me give you some common ways you may hear it phrased in the business environment. This is the way we always done it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what businesses do. This is what technology companies do. This is what most companies like. The map is not the terrain. You're following old ass maps trying to become newly successful. You're trying to look backwards to move forward. No, you're trying to move back. You're looking backwards while you're trying to move forward. You're not looking back. You're not using backwards like a rearview mirror as how do I change lanes based on how I examine the past. You're driving with your head in the rearview mirror. That map is gone. You're into a new terrain. And so you hear, if you get in corporate meetings and people are just calling out all these maps, and if you ever say, well, which one of you guys, these maps have you guys tested? How do you know this map works? And some people say, well, when I was at college 15 years ago, that's what we learned. What the hell? This is what everybody does. What the hell? The map is not the terrain. Next one.
Consider the cartographer. Maps are not purely objective creations. They reflect the values, standards, and limitations of their creators.
So when somebody gives you a map, it's also influenced by the person who's giving you the map. Let me ask you something. Okay, here's a question to y'all. I'm going to ask you two questions. Well, the first, I just ask you one question. The second, I'll give a sample. And Kev's the only one who can answer it because I asked him earlier today. What makes a person smart? Kev, you're not allowed. Anybody, come on. Shakira, you want to just whip out that hidden magic trick? What makes a person smart? Somebody take a shot at it. Pass it to Tennille. You know, if Tennille speaks, everybody needs to shut the fuck up because she really speaks. We all should just like close our eyes and go like this.
Is this thing on? Okay. I would say what makes somebody smart is their ability to apply. So receive and then apply information that they have learned or gathered. It's the application.
Okay, I'll go with that. Anybody else want to add to that? Go ahead.
I would say maybe the field or domain that they're in at the particular moment would make them smart.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Curiosity.
Curiosity, I'll go with that. Okay, pause. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shakira, one more, last one.
I was just going to say the art of practice and failure.
Okay, now, what makes a man think he's smart?
validation and acquired assets.
Nope.
What makes a man think he's smart?
Mm-hmm. Close. Huh?
I was just thinking out loud, just saying, like, isn't that what validation is? Like external validation?
No. You don't need external validation. Your belief. The belief starts first. I believe I'm smart. And then you build a vocabulary and all the examples to support it and impress other value around you. And this is how so many people manipulate you. There's a lot of people who sound smart because they believe they're smart, but they don't function well. They ain't achieving shit. They have zero impact. But you will meet a lot of people who articulate themselves. They have the posture. They have the pronunciation. They have the large vocabulary. They're not smart. And yet, other human beings can evaluate if they are or not smart, right? Science and scientists are not the same thing. Science has these real strict rules that says, okay, as a scientist, how is it you can ever believe you're right? Because every generation can tell you how did they even think that was right? That means this generation should be in a position right now proving themselves wrong, because science is a constant evolution of learning. Now, science supports that, but the scientist with the ego loves to plant his flag, his or her flag, and say, I'm smart. When the ego comes into creating maps for you, and it's surrounded with great language and science and all this branding, you got to step back and go, wait a minute, who created this map? Where did it come from? So many of you guys will be fooled by these maps by the person who presents it to you. A consultant will walk in your business, give you a map. You will spend money and destroy your business, not realizing how was a consultant able. The consultant, okay, because the value of a consultant is an outside brain. So they're stopping you from being victimized by your inside brain, which is a lot of biases, because you're on the inside looking on the outside. And he comes from the outside and goes, hey, let me share these ideas from the outside. But they're not the master of your direction. They don't know any more. They're a contributor to the brilliance you already have. But some of them call on consultants like they're going to be heroes that's going to come save our business. Is our kids what I say, huh? They cannot save you. They just can't. So there's the limitation of a lot of these ideas, scientists and brilliant people and these maps. The limitations quite often are people's egos are just them. And so you have to think to be an entrepreneur. You can't have this blind foot. You can't worship people. You can't. Sorry. You got to think for yourself. I can be impressed with anybody in this room and be attached to your idea, but I'm only attached as long as it's working for me. As soon as it starts working for me, I don't demonize you. I detach myself and move on to the next better idea. Because I'm never going to make you a god to me to the point I can't move past your idea because I'm worshiping you. That's why we often say when we start this class, we're not your gurus, because we know that a lot of people will come to this class worshiping us, and we have to grow. Remember I said earlier about path dependency, that you have to be able to flip-flop? You may pull up a class I taught maybe 4 years ago, but no, that's different. Well, guess what? I learned different and I changed. I have no loyalty to that other version. But if I was path dependent, I'll be trying to make my oldest ideas from 6 years ago still work. I would almost be bastardizing or turning into views of charlatans, because why? I'm trying to make bad ideas work, because I'm trying to be consistent. Next slide.
Sorry. However, as historian Margaret Macmillan has pointed out, nationalism is a very modern construct.
So real quick, y'all know that nationalism is not that. That's not a thing. That's not human. That's like if you look at if the time clock, if a clock of human existence since we've been on this earth, if it's a clock, our time that we've been on this earth is a clock, it's under a second. Nationalism. Most of human existence, there's no such thing as nationalism. Go ahead.
And in some sense has developed with not in advance of the maps that set out the shape of countries. We then should not assume that our literal maps depict an objective view of the geographical territory.
You know, in New York, they be. In Chicago, they. You know, in East Oakland, they. West Oakland, you know how we get down. I never understood this Oakland exaggeration. You know, I'm from Oakland. This is how we get. If that bullet starts shooting, we're going to act accordingly. Ain't nobody like, I'm from Oakland. I'm going to get in front of the bullet first. It is, we act accordingly. It's the hallucination that the territory completely defines us. And if you knew, for example, when we worked with San Francisco, and they say, hey, we want you to go to Hunters Point, we start from flat zero. We don't go in there going, oh yeah, we know black people because we black. We from Bay Area, they from the Bay.
Them DuckTales, though.
He's I like DuckTales. Don't give me no trouble. Those, hey, my San Francisco folks who were in class, that was court. Anyway, so, but the point is that at the end of the day, it's like we try. Oh, Africa. Africa is growing extremely fast. It may be the future of our children's future successes, investment, businesses, all kind of stuff. And yet some of y'all are stuck in the old map of Africa. China is changing so freaking fast in our lifetime. Some of y'all still have the old map of China. Motherfucking, some of y'all were scared of Russia like Russia was the Soviet Union. That's a different map. When you start moving around this world, you realize these maps are changing left and right. San Francisco just went through a major map change. Go to San Francisco today, you're like, this is not San Francisco from 6 months ago. But in our brain, remember, when you think about the world, you don't have access to see the world in real time at all times. Most of your perception of what you're going to do in the world happens in your head first. And those are just maps. Next.
Maps can influence territories.
Uh-oh.
This problem was part of the central argument put forth by Jane Jacobs in her groundbreaking work, The Death and Life of Great American Cities.
Mm-hmm.
She chronicled the efforts of city planners who came up with elaborate models for the design and organization of cities without paying any attention to how cities actually work.
So this is, let me show you, this is for those who in city public services who are in this class. You guys invite individuals into your offices to give you some insight, to form a map. And you're not watching the way the city really works. You got to learn how to see the city from multiple levels. Not only the individual acts, but how the system is moving. That system, when you start designing these beautiful ideas of what you're going to do for your city, it'll look great on paper. Everybody applaud. The shit won't work. The same thing's going to happen for your business. You're going to write a beautiful business plan. Everybody's going to applaud. Shit didn't work. You're going to put together a team, come up with a plan of how to collaborate with somebody, have a beautiful plan, go to work the next day, applaud. Shit didn't work because your observations suck. This is an observation game. You don't get to run to the corner and be quiet and safe. You got to keep listening. You got to find ways to hear the voices of the people you seek to serve, to adjust your business. Even if you're a CEO with 100 people between you and the customer, you got to find ways to access the customer. And one of the techniques that people use is each layer of business makes the layer beneath them their customer. So the management team sees the team that they lead. Okay, so the directors will see the management team as the management team as their customers. Management team will take the team leads as their customer. Team leads will take the employees, that's their customer. The employees will take their employees. The employees will take their the customer and make them their employees. Number two, most businesses realize who perform at a high level, the most valuable part of your business is the front line. If that money don't come through the door, all that little fancy structure shit and all those spreadsheets and all those matrix diagrams means nothing. There's no money. So at the end of the day, you have to be in tune with what customers feel and somehow uploading that data all the time and being aware of, and not just looking at individual accounts and conversations and stories, because once again, the ant can't tell you why the colony is smart. You got to watch the colony behavior. You gotta watch Colony because the Colony will tell you it will almost help you predict their needs. But if you watch the individual stories, it's okay. The reason you can't listen to the individual stories, remember that story about noise I talked to you guys about earlier? If you listen to every person on the front level telling you what problem they have in the industry, they're gonna give you more noise than signal. This is like, so reporting words in the black community. What do you think is the problem? Noise, 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 noise. There's very little signal there. Because everybody's giving you their educated rendition of what they think the problem is. Trash, 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 trash. Then you watch all that noise at home and you convert it to signals. You know what they said on the news. I mean, everybody's saying that. Trash. 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 Next paragraph.
They then tried to fit the cities into the model.
So they come up with an idea of the way the city should run. You come up with an idea of the way your business should run. You come into an idea of how you should design a system, and then keep going.
She describes how cities were changed to correspond to these models, and the often negative consequences of these efforts.
Mm-hmm.
It became possible also to map out master plans for the statistical city.
Mm-hmm.
And people take these more seriously, for we are all accustomed to believe that maps and reality are necessarily related, or that if they are not, we can make them so by altering reality.
So, you ever heard a situation where in Yellowstone Park, they were losing elks? So then they fed the elks special food. The elks came back really, really fast. But the elks started to eat this plant that the beavers ate. They started to have land deterioration. Then land deterioration happened, and then which affects the beavers, which then affects the water flow, which is this chain reaction, right? So then they had a cold winter because they forced the elks to grow so fast there was not enough food. But the people didn't pay attention to the impact of the elk growth. So they thought the reason the elks were dying so fast is because of the predators. So then they went that next year and they killed all the wolves, the mountain lions, and so forth and so on. And they continued to cause more and more damage to the ecosystem. It's because the people who was trying to manage the ecosystem had a map in their head how things are supposed to work. And every time they tweaked something, they caused more damage somewhere else. They was trying to fit people into this ideal way the world should be. What do they call that? Social, God damn it, justice. I'm so glad, boy. See, he's not eating a lot today, so he's not having itis. But the point is this. Social justice is a map that's designed where we're trying to fit people into it, and we're wondering why the tension is starting to happen. Next slide.
Jacob's book, is in part a cautionary tale of what can happen when faith in the model influences the decisions we make in the territory, when we try to fit complexity into the simplification.
When you try to take large groups of people and make them fit into simple ideas, it doesn't work. I'm just gonna make it that simple. It would never work. Dumb idea. Don't try it. Don't even go down that journey. When you're managing a large group of people, the reason so let's go back a little bit. I want y'all to breathe for a second. Those of you at home, you should have been breathing this whole time. We've been teaching this need to embrace complexity. Now, there's a reason you might need to communicate in simplicity, but you have to embrace thinking within complexity. You got to also position your brain to embrace complexity. If your brain is so exhausted because you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, you're trying to simplify so much complexity. So you're almost like those people in Yellowstone Park. You're breaking more shit with good intentions. Good intentions is not a fucking strategy. Right? You got to literally sit back and go, here's a problem in front of me. How do I grow optionality? What happens if I do this? And if this doesn't go well, how am I prepared to make this other pivot? You have to look at so many you have to test ideas. Testing. Test your fucking maps. Learn to test maps. Learn to design smaller ways to test big ideas so you don't lose so many resources when you only find out that The map is not the terrain. Test. Next slide.
In general, when building statistical models,
Slide real quick. Stop real quick. Statistics is the dopest math in the world, and very few of us understand this shit.
oh God,
And even when you understand statistics, very few of us can actually use it, even though we know it, because our brain doesn't like statistics at all.
mine don't like.
No, most people don't like statistics. And in a world that's random, you have to learn how to think through some of the models of statistics. Go ahead.
In general, when building statistical models, we must not forget that the aim is to understand something about the real world.
So real quick, that sounds simple, and that shit is hard to achieve. When you get a group of people in a room and they're trying to plan for the real world, their beliefs are taking over the whole conversation. Passion, this ego shit is so powerful. Passion makes beliefs more important than reality. Passion makes beliefs more important than reality. So when you bring you can bring a group of Harvard, Stanford, Cornell, Wharton, Purdue. Let's all get in this one room. Let's talk about business. And their passion our emotional contagion, all these other different primers will get it to the point that we will abandon the real world to satisfy our beliefs. Why do you think so many businesses fail? They can't get past their beliefs. They can't get past their beliefs. They're so path dependent on their beliefs, they can't get past their beliefs. So you see why we open this class up, we start off with beliefs and ego? Because these things literally stop you from adopting new strategies to domesticate the world you live in. Keep going.
Or predict, choose an action, make a decision, summarize evidence, and so on, but always about the real world, not an abstract mathematical world. Our models are not the reality.
So now I'm gonna throw a twist on that for you. Humans are excellent in preparing for real world threats. We suck at abstract threats. Abstract threats are part of the real world, like a system or so many things that can happen in society, a belief, or all kind of ideas and all kind of abstract things can happen. It can cause deep destruction, and when it takes off, it'd be too fast for you to stop it, right? But when we say reality, a lot of times we don't realize we're not really looking at reality. We're stuck in this version in our head of what reality we think it looks like. And if you don't believe me, go to a barbershop and watch them all argue about reality. They will argue they all believe their reality is so true. You go to the right place, they might even start boxing. Because why do people fight wars? Because their maps don't match. It's not reality doesn't match. Their maps on reality doesn't match. And yet in business, often we will champion our map as reality and then wonder why we failed, thinking some hidden boogeyman in the mothership called white supremacy is preventing our growth when our maps are flawed. Or they may have been valid when Martin Luther, for example, Malcolm X always said, brother, and Martin Luther King said, and the Black Panthers taught these principles. Those maps been dead for how many fucking years? If you don't update that goddamn map, and when I say update the map, I am not insulting the way the person, when Martin Luther King built his map at the time, his map was fucking brilliant. He was a mastermind of his time, but that map needs to be revised, redesigned, and restructured based upon the reality you exist in. Stop referencing 1960. A 63-year-old map, you referencing that shit like it's hot. That's like me going, okay, I'm going to find you a 63-year-old AAA map, and I want you to take that shit and drive from here to New York and see how many fucked up circles you're going to be in. And don't have an electrical vehicle because you ain't going to get out of California. Because that shit ain't got no electrical vehicles here. And the old Texaco gas stations don't exist no more. But that's how y'all move with information about how to move forward. Founding fathers taught us that in business, or this business guy from this area, he said, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he said, oh my God, can I just die? Stop trying to simplify this shit. This shit is complex as fuck. And guess what? You gotta fall in love with. Okay, anybody watch the NBA basketball? Okay, anybody ever play street basketball? Anybody like just play around the corner on the block? Are those two comparable?
No.
Not even close. Do you understand the intelligence of a basketball player? How much knowledge they working with, how much statistical thinking, how many mindsets and abstract ideas and principles they're carrying while they're executing hundreds of plays that they don't know what the fuck to do. These 5 guys could change the way they play on a drop of a dime. They can play, okay, in street ball, you try to change 5 guys how the way they play, they don't change shit. Look, bro, if you don't know how to run and throw layups, you're not in that game. You're just watching people run by you every time, right? Or if the guy who hauls, he gonna get his 45, 50 shots in. The guy who just, meek, humble, he may get a chance to pass. In street ball. In professional balls, it's a whole separate thing. Some of y'all want to be in business but play street ball. Y'all just want to run 21, up and down. Call foul. You foul me, get the ball back. No money on the table.
Hey, and some of us want to just do the moves we want to do. So if we a good 3-point shooter or we a good dribbler, that's all we want to do. When the game needs so much more, you're like, that's not fun for me.
Looney is on Warriors. Looney was a scorer before he came to the league. They asked him to play a different role, and he learned that role to be in the league. Some of y'all want to come in the business world and y'all want to play my role. I want to be Kyrie. I want to do whatever I want to do. Kyrie, nobody wants you, bro. We can't win with you. Eagles are goddamn big. Next slide.
Maps have long been a part of human society. They are valuable tools to pass on knowledge. Still, in using maps, abstractions, and models, we must always be wise to their limitations.
What we just said about the Martin Luther King stuff. They great maps, pass them down, but they got limitations. Keep going.
They are, by definition, reductions of something far more complex.
Oh, so when we talk about people, the conversation, if we really want to talk about people, if we really want to get deep down and dirty and work on a strategy, we can't use these stereotypes and these simple ideas of maps and manage our business? No, you can't. Keep going.
There is always at least an element of subjectivity. Mm-hmm. And we need to remember that they are created at particular moments in time.
So whenever they were created, they might have been super relevant, but if enough things change in your environment, they have no more relevance. How do you manage a black community? You know what's wrong with the black community? You know what we used to do? Yes, that map worked great then, but we got a new problem here. And some of y'all will get into politics or get money and invest in what we used to do. This is how you fix it. That map is irrelevant. You got to figure out what map you need now. Keep going.
They are flawed but useful. In order to think a few steps ahead, we must think beyond the map.
There you go. Next. All right, I'm gonna get a couple of these real quick. This is gonna mess with a lot of y'all. This is kind of like ego. It's gonna hit you in the ego space. But circle of competence. Your circle of competence. This kind of goes back to the question Shakina asked earlier about working with people and then not working with you. I'm gonna hit about maybe 3 or 4 slides and we're gonna call it a night. Let's go. Next slide. Oh, okay, so what you know and what you think you know. There's a big difference between what you know, and we talked about this. I'll open up about that you don't always have access to all your knowledge. There's a difference between what you know and what you think you know. Go for it.
If you understand, if you know what you understand, you know where you have an edge over others. When you are honest about where your knowledge is lacking, you know where you are vulnerable and where you can improve. Understanding your circle of competence improves decision-making and outcomes.
Okay. Go back to that pissing contest of, I'm trying to impress you. You get lost in yourself. You lied so much, exaggerated so much, you don't even know what the fuck you know anymore. You even take on some stuff, and you've been faking it until you make it. You've been accepting these false titles. You've been embracing this whole rhythm that you've been in this whole time. You don't even know what you do or don't know anymore. And you've been able to find people so much lower than you that you can impress. And everybody's like, oh my God, you're so good at what you do. You don't realize you still can't get in the NBA. Oh, I could jump over a car. I understand the hook, but they're not going to take it in the NBA. Because you can't see what you don't know. So remember I told you earlier that you don't have access to all your knowledge? What I do is I know my library really, really well. And I know where to go. If somebody asks me a certain question, I know where to go back and dig in and refresh myself really fast, right? I built almost like a group of sources of information I can always pull on to help me show up. And while I show up, I'm never trying to get an A. I accept I'm going to make some mistakes. So that makes me move faster with more velocity. Where if I'm trying to get an A in everything I'm doing, I got too much rigidity, and I'm so rigid on trying to be right, I suck actually when I show up. Because I over-practice, over-plan, and too much fear. Last, when you don't feel like you're good enough, you exaggerate your competence all the time. To the point you don't even know what you don't know anymore. Matter of fact, Kevin has talked about this the other day. He'll try to tell somebody something, and they try to finish the sentence like they know where you're gonna go. It's part of our culture. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen that before. You won't even, somebody says, hey, did you know this thing over in East Oakland, it's called the X743? You go, I think I do. Yeah, I heard about that. You won't say, I have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Teach me. You're scared to say that. Teach me. It's the scariest words that will ever come out your mouth. Teach me. You're so scared because your ego's tied into, oh, I know, I'm not stupid. No, you can't call me stupid. Oh, no, you're never going to call me. My teacher told me I was stupid. I got bad grades. I'm out of school right now. No one's going to ever call me stupid again. So guess what? I'm going to defend my right to be seen as intelligent, even if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not stupid. Next slide.
Imagine an old man who spent his entire life up in a small town.
Oh, this is so good. I love this one.
He's the lifer. No detail of the goings-on in the town has escaped his notice over the years.
Oh, this is the G. Keep going.
He knows the lineage, behavior, attitudes, jobs, income, and social status of every person in town.
Mm-hmm.
Bit by bit, he built that knowledge up over a long period of observation and participation in town affairs.
Mm-hmm.
The lifer knows where the bodies are buried and who buried them. He knows who owes money to whom, who gets along with whom, and who the town depends on to keep spinning. He knows about that time the mayor cheated on his taxes. He knows about that time the town flooded, how many inches high the water was, and exactly who helped whom and who didn't.
Flip to the next one.
Now imagine a stranger enters the town in from the big city.
Mm-hmm.
Within a few days, the stranger decides that he knows all there is to know about the town.
Uh-oh.
He's met the mayor, the sheriff, the bartender, and the shopkeeper, and he can get around fairly easily. It's a small town, and he hasn't come across anything surprising.
Stop. This is college students coming out of college. This is a new employee at a new job. This is a new entrepreneur getting into the game. This is a new politician with a new title. This is you go into a city and you don't know that the map is not the terrain, but there's a map keeper. He's an explorer. That guy, he knows, he watches, that's his thing. He's the map keeper. He's studying everything. He can tell you every trend that's changed, right? But you get caught up in like, the person with a lot of emotions, the person that tells you that, I've been oppressed, or they can articulate the history of oppression so well, but they're not the person from the town. Let me take it another step further. Guess who's smarter, grandma or a Harvard student?
Grandma.
Grandma. You say, well, why? Content without context is no value to me. Grandma got context. There's hella grandma. Y'all go to school and become newbie people. Y'all become too new for your own family. You go to Thanksgiving, you about to tell everybody how they wrong and how you know everything and how you done read these books, you done went to this college and you so much finer, intelligent than every rest of them, and what's wrong with these Negroes out here, because if they only knew the equation of statistical thinking and these principles that they taught in my university, they would understand how to free themselves from the Negro slave. Grandma looking at you like, sit your dumb ass down. You have no context on what you're trying to do. Knowledge without context is disruptive. Knowledge without context is disruptive. Kaja raised her hand, so let's make sure she get her microphone. And so, honestly, we don't realize. Oh, give it to her. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear
There
me?
you go.
Yes. Okay. I remember this from last year, so I'm glad to see it come back around again. In that example that you just gave, sometimes that context is old context, right?
Yes.
Sometimes that college student comes back and like, why are we having chitlins? Why are we having hog maws? Grandma, I understand there's context and history behind what we're doing, but there are other ways if you've gone and been exposed to fresh
Absolutely.
perspectives.
Mm-hmm. But even with those fresh perspectives, it still won't fit if you don't know how the town works. So new knowledge, even though it's okay. Have you ever tried to give somebody some game on something that you know that they didn't know, but you just wasn't the right person to give it to them because you was just too new with your shit? You didn't know how to talk to them based upon their perspective. And you can watch somebody. This happened to me before. I'm talking to somebody like a dude. I'm like, yo, this, and he looking at me like, man, fuck this dude. So he's looking at me like this the whole time, like, man, fuck. And I'm still trying to penetrate his mind with these thoughts, and he's like, psh, fix yourself. And so then, and then he yells at home. I swear, Jasadi be on something. He's starting to get that itis again. He ate a sandwich. Poison. So then his partner will come in and goes, oh, no, man. It's just like when you, and he go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because he knows how to talk the language based upon the context of how it needs to be delivered to that person because he sees that person. You don't see that person. This is why white folks can't save you. They can't. It has nothing to do with them being good or bad. It has nothing to do with their values or morals. They can't see you contextually. They listen to your noise and try to read the context of your culture. They can't see that. They don't know how to sit down. They don't know how to find the guy who sits on the stoop and can tell you, yo, that shit ain't gonna work, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So, also in the context of entrepreneurship, the lifers are seasoned entrepreneurs. And these people are brand new entrepreneurs. And they go to a lifer and say, I got this business idea for this new particular thing. And they say, that's not going to work. Oh, you hating? Well, the lifer knows that he's seen that business attempt 3 times in the last 4 years. And he's seen them all crash and burn. And he knows that it has no context because there's no customers in that area for your business because he knows all the customers in that area.
I'm starting my own club.
And it's like, damn, like,
Start my own restaurant.
come on, like the lifer knows. And so the stranger thinks that the city is full of haters when in actuality, those people give you the best game.
And you got to know how to see those people because even when there's different levels of that grandmother. There's a grandmother who says, eat the hog maws. And the grandmother says, nah, baby, they don't eat hog maws no more. We like that, but they eat this because that's where they're at. And I'm glad they're there. She ain't trying to change herself, but she put the world she sees in context, right? They're not all old people. Once again, the map is not terrain for old people. They're not all the same, right? There's complexities in this aging thing. But when he gave an example of this person, he said he knows everybody's personality. He knows everybody's attitude. He knows where the body's hitting and who put the bodies there. He knows where the money's at. He watched his kid grow up and become mayor, right? So he knows this kid. You ever meet somebody the first time and they come off like a boss or strong, but once you meet them, they soft as fuck, they weak, or they just shady. But when you first meet them, their impression, they can form that impression to make you feel something, right? You go into a new job office and you don't sit there and listen for 6 months to a year. You walk in right away trying to change shit, and you wonder why everybody fucking hates you. You wonder why you get fired. Your good efforts get stepped on because you walked in trying to bring outside ideas into this internal system, not realizing, no, I need to know where the bodies are buried. Because you can say, let's change this one idea, and don't realize you just hurt the feelings of the person who saved the boss last week. And that person's going to, but if you learn and sit there and just listen, like, hey, tell me more, just explore the first 6 months you're there. All of a sudden, you know how to move in that circle. That's why I said don't be friends with people, because you ain't getting a chance to learn the people to get a sense of, yeah, she's smiling and laughing. But when she goes home, she's snorting cocaine the whole fucking time. Yep. This happened to me. I had a student 3 or 4 years ago. Now, I need to talk to you about this business. Every time I would teach a class, she'd give me all the feedback. I would get all that feedback from her, right? I was like, man, it should be whatever, man. But I was like, okay, I'm going to show up to all the feedback. I was like, okay, give me some more insight. Insight was always bad. It was always bad. She finally sits down with me in business. Now I need to sit down with you, talk to me about my business, you know. And she started going over her ideas. I was like, yo, these ideas, I don't understand how you're going to make this work. This is horrible ideas. She goes, I should have not came to you because I know I was wrong for this. I mean, I got to get over my cocaine habit. Partner. This happened to me more than once, trust me. Right? Where somebody, woman's like, yeah, I don't work on the stuff you're saying, but right now, you know, I'm on a block as a prostitute. Wait, what? Yeah. If you saw this person, you would never know it. Wouldn't know it. Never know it. Would I ever disclose it? Hell no. That's disgusting for me to disclose people's personal business. Never do that kind of stuff. The point I'm saying is that context, having conversations with somebody when you first meet them is a content-based dialogue because you don't know who you're talking to. But when it comes time to start making some decisions and trusting people, and a lot of y'all make decisions and trust people on content. Oh, I married this person after 2 months of knowing them. Oh, okay. Okay, that's all it takes. Okay. Then you could have meet a year later. This person crazy. No, you crazy too. You crazy too. You crazy too. Keep going. One more slide. I'm going to call it a day.
What'd you say, Josh? Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
In the stranger's mind, he's convinced he pretty much knows everything a lifer would know.
So this is a funny part. That college student, the new employee, that new entrepreneur. Oh, I know everything. I know everything. I know everything Nana knows. I know everything. Oh, come on. What Nana gonna teach me?
Oak, stop.
Come on now. 18 years in this game. Oh yeah, I know what you're doing. I can read that shit. I read that book before. What books you read? Oh yeah, I read that one too. 48 years of journey, and you've been at a job for 18 years. But I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Keep going.
He has sized up the town in no time. With his keen eye, he makes assumptions based on what he has learned so far and figures he knows enough to get his business done. This, however,
go back, read that, because you know I think y'all don't realize how dominant this is. Read it one more time.
He makes assumptions based on what he has learned so far.
Oh, wait. So he doesn't know what he does and does not know. His assumptions have become his knowledge that he thinks he knows. So there's no need to take an entrepreneur class. There's no need to continue to read books every day. There's no need to study. I'm just going to figure this out and use my assumptions to move. You see how this is normal?
It is.
This is so fucking normal. Now, you work with new entrepreneurs all the time. They're full of assumptions. Do you know, the guy who wrote the science book? No.
You know what, Josh? I am done with you for today.
His argument on science was this, that science is full of assumptions. That's why science can always be true. It's full of assumptions. A lot of us are moving in business with so many assumptions, assuming that it's our knowledge base. So I don't need to read no books. I come from entrepreneur house. I've hung out with entrepreneurs. I know entrepreneurs, so I think I can be an entrepreneur. You know how many assumptions you just dropped on the table and how much knowledge you don't have? But your brain feel like it's flooding, like it's pouring over in knowledge. And here's the funny part. You're going to argue your assumptions against knowledge. You're going to walk into the town with a lifer and argue with mentors, and people can educate you based upon your assumptions and your emotional tie to those assumptions. Keep going.
And figures he knows enough to get his business done. This, however, is a false sense of confidence that likely causes him to take more risks than he realizes.
Oh, so more risk than that. I'm going to make these investments now. I'm going to spend all my savings on this idea. I'm going to quit my job next week and start my business. Keep going.
Without intimately knowing the history of the town, how can he be sure that he has picked the right land for development or negotiated the best price?
So in business, if you place excellent efforts down the wrong lane, it's valueless. In solving problems, it's not about a solution. It's first also identifying what kind of problem you have. When you're doing a lot of assumptions, you can't have contextual assessment of the problems that are facing you because you won't practice. Practice allows you to put things in the proper context so your efforts are not in vain. But a lot of our efforts are in vain because our efforts are based upon assumptions of the path we're about to enter. You guys get where I'm going with this? This shit is so cold that your circle of competence, your distortion of your intelligence is so damn high. I went to Harvard not realizing that because you never sat with that information and dialogued heavily enough and engaged in practices around that information had a short shelf life. But you've backfilled it with so many assumptions and you wear the status of your degree because you think knowledge trumps all things. When I say you don't have access to all your knowledge at all times. But you run around here putting it in front of yourself. When somebody says, send me your bio. Yes, I'm a graduate of the JBLG and I did this, I achieved this. And you believe that shit when they make that announcement about you. Yeah, Donna's a graduate of Stanford. One of the 5 people to ever graduate from this particular class. And he's here to share with you some of his insights on economics and business. And you get up there, yes, thank you, Michael. You are full of assumptions. And then you will backfill it with this beautiful vocabulary and these wonderful descriptions to only be seen as a charlatan to people who do this shit for real. Most people who teach business, who never ran a business, that's what they sound like to us. Most people want practitioners to teach us because practitioners can take the information and put it all within context. You will have a non-practitioner. Well, you know, Shakina, if you really want to get this business, a logo does cost you $20,000. A young lady called me today about something. I said, I don't think that's the best place for your money. I heard what people have told you, but you haven't mastered your market and you're not feeding yourself. So I think your investment should be over here as opposed to that. She's like, I wish somebody would have told me that. But she was talking to
They don't be listening.
all the assumption people, all the fake entrepreneur advisors, all the fake ass consultants and like them fucking business coaches. I swear to God, sometimes I just want to shoot them in the ankles. And they all over here advising the same, all they doing is repeating the same as, like, they like parrots, just repeating the same ass line back and forth, back and forth. And some of y'all think that shit is real because you can remember, I can quote this, everybody believes this, it sounds good. Even though I haven't been a business person, and you're taking this assumption and then you put money on this assumption. Let me put it this way. If you went to Wall Street and you assume how the game work and you made moves on your assumptions, you're about to be broke. They about to take your lunch. If you go to the hood and you walk into Compton with your assumptions, you gonna either come out here naked or dead. Like, you don't realize how much you backfilling stuff. My man over here, he's teaching me how to shoot guns, all right? When he's not eating, he can shoot. And he was showing, and one of the major mistakes that people do with guns, they assume from watching TV, they make the assumption, I get a gun. Let them shoot at somebody one day. They're going to hit everything besides the person they're shooting at. Because there's so many television. You don't watch John Wick. You over there rolling on the ground, shot yourself in the fucking ankle because you done made hell assumptions. The reality is that anybody who's done any type of profession, you got to realize when is it an assumption and when is it knowledge. I'm gonna close on this point here because we're gonna finish up circle competence next week or when we come back. Let me say this real quick. I don't think you guys really. I'm gonna double down on this one more time. This is so important. I don't think you guys understand survival mindset deep enough. How many of y'all, this is a question to y'all, how many of y'all as black folks, and to my Latino folks online, to my Jewish partner in the back, she's like, why you guys be in the back of the bus? Hey, just shut up.
And our Asian family. We got some Asian family.
Oh, you got some what?
We got some Asian family.
You got some Asian family, and to my Irish family. That's my Irish folks. Yeah. Or is he Scottish? Irish, right? Irish.
He say Scottish.
He's Irish. I think he's Irish. Okay, he's Irish. Don't tell him I didn't know because he'll jump on me. But to all my family and friends who are online watching class, to my East Coast, West Coast, North Coast, how many black folks have you got? How many guys have you got a job, but in the back of your mind said, when you have that job, I hope this shit doesn't end because I don't want to take on the fate of most black people. Like you have this job, but you know you should feel secure because you know you black. You always wonder, will it happen to me? How many of y'all really live with that? Because if you don't live with that, you need to wake the fuck up. But if you ever worked in corporate America, you know that's not your family you're working for. And in the back of your mind, you go, I got a good job, but I hope this shit don't change. And you might even think you can rely upon your education, but you hope that works. Because you also know you're getting older and you black, the odds of you getting back to this stage can be kind of shady. And so in the back of your mind, you don't realize it's creating a survivor mindset quietly. There's a certain amount of fear there that maybe the white person doesn't have. Maybe people who are part of certain circles, they don't have that same fear. But if you just come out of a degree and got a job and worked your way up, you know, like for example, if you leave Google, Facebook might say, well, we don't want that position no more. We don't, things have changed. We don't need that position. Will that degree still reward you with the same income? We've been in big economic downfalls where everybody was here and then the economy collapsed and everybody's down here trying to fight back to the top again. And sometimes the black folks didn't fight as fast. So in the back of your mind, you know this is a thing, whether you're older, whether you have a race that is not favored. You always gotta have this fear of, if there's a layoff system, this could be me. Hopefully it doesn't happen. So you go into a quiet version of survivor mode. You're always thinking, I gotta make sure I'm cool. If you're an entrepreneur, new, survivor mode. I gotta make sure I don't lose this shit because I've seen cats land by the wayside, right? But survival is an abstract threat to your thinking. And I don't think you guys understand. You can't embrace nonlinearity. It's hard if you're in survival mode. You can't play the long game. It's hard. Your ego's out of control because you're scared. You can't process complexity because I need to know what it's going to be. You're transactional. You overcommit to bad ideas because you're looking for that quick fix, that fast solution, the thing that's going to get you over the top really, really fast because non-linearity. Look how black folks as a culture, it's almost like we throw a rock into the water and the water, let's say a white person throws a rock into the water. And also fish come out. You're like, oh shit, this is cool. You throw a rock into the water and one goldfish comes out. You're like, what the fuck? It's the same effort, but the system that you exist in gives you a different level of reward. So then over time, when, okay, I get goldfish, Kasha, all you guys are goldfish, Shakina, all you guys are goldfish, fuck it, black people just get goldfish. Not realizing that, no, we're trapped in this mindset that makes us think a certain kind of way. So all of these good effort people think that we're underperforming because we don't have the same mental capacity to process the brain is designed to keep you alive. It doesn't give a fuck about sex. I got to keep you alive. That's the number one goal. If the brain thinks it's under threat, it's stealing half of your resources you could be using to analyze, be complex, make decisions, process the world, manage people, control your emotions. Half those resources are gone. And then somebody comes along with you, be like, oh, what's wrong with you? Over in Walnut Creek, we don't have this problem. I don't know what's going on with Oakland. Our kids go to schools that suggest you are going to be in survival mode for the rest of your life. You need to get an A so you can at least be at the best, get the best odds in survival game. This is how teachers talk to your kids. And at the end of the day, you wonder why we're repeating this process. When you put a human being in survival mode, they will never match the normal competition of other groups. I don't care what. If you take a group of white people put survival mode, like most of the people under poverty in America are white. Go to those areas, you're going to see some of the same symptoms you see in the hood in Oakland. The effects of being in survival mode, and even you might think, well, I got money. Some of y'all will make money, then sabotage yourself because survival mode's become a comfort zone, buy a big-ass house that you can barely pay for to live next to the neighbors, and put yourself back in survival mode because now the mortgage of that new house is so fucking expensive that now that $200,000 a year salary is now down to minimum wage. And they say, I can't make enough money out here. I don't think you guys realize how powerful that class he taught, because survival mode is a subconscious agent that's attacking you that's beyond your conscious mind. So you walk around every day like, feeling good. Man, my favorite song came out, I'm feeling good. I saw this bad chick at the party. Oh my God, this is great life. You know what I'm saying? The other day I had some good food. I like this little outfit I'm wearing. But then you're like, why can't I be white people? Why can't we build, where's the businesses in our community? We're suffering from survival mode. Even when we build businesses, we destroy businesses because survival mode kicks in and becomes like this virus that starts to attack all of our hard work and tear apart relationships and disconnect us and destroy our emotions, create depression, and before you know it, it's all survival mode doing this thing. As a black person, as a Latino person, as any person is in a survival mode rhythm, it is critical. Go back to the word positioning. First, gain a level of honesty about yourself. Am I in survival mode? Cool. How do you position yourself to get out of survival mode? This is a story. When I was working, and I was in my 20s. I was reading books, but shit's sticking. It was sticking and falling apart. I got a job at AAA. It's the funnest time of my life. God, it's a great life. But for the first time, I could pay all my bills and save some money. And I remember walking down the street, and my brain just said, and all of a sudden, I had complexities just came online, and I was able to have complex, multiple layers of thinking. I ain't never had that before in my life. Because my whole life, I was so busy trying to figure out where my next dollar's gonna come from. And the fears of going to bed at night thinking, hope tomorrow works out the way I planned it. All that shit was eating up so much. I didn't know what complex thinking felt like. And when it came online, I called my play brother at the time and said, yo, when you make money, it changes the way you fucking think. He's like, yeah, you're not in survival mode no more. I didn't understand at that age. I don't think he understood it when he told me that way. But when you're in survival mode, there's a brain you don't even have access to. So that's why sometimes when me and Court say some things, you be like, that sounds cool, but I don't really know what the fuck I don't know what to do with that. That part of your brain ain't even came online. When that shit comes online, it's almost like limitations and restrictions and rules you put in place to protect yourself and all that shit goes, whew. It's almost like you're free. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I can have multiple thoughts at the same time. What the fuck is this? And I'm walking down the street like, oh, wait a minute, I can remember some shit? I can actually take an idea and tear it into pieces and then rebuild it the way I want to. In the past, it was like, yo, tell me what to do, Sway. This shit's fucked up for me. Give me some ideas. Come on, give me some. Something quicker. All right, I try that. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, give me that. Okay, I try that. Okay, fuck it, that didn't work. Give me this. I try that. And then, okay, that worked. Shabisha, God damn, you a god. You my girl for life. That's why I'm fucking with you. All right, Shabisha, can I talk to you next week? Because I'm going through some other shit. But when I came out of survival mode, I said, oh shit, I get ownership of my life? This shit's crazy. Number one goal you need to focus on is mapping yourself out of survival mode. If you can map yourself out of survival mode, there's another brain waiting on you. You never knew it. You only know what this shit feels like. You'll see how like now professors don't impress me. There used to be a time when a professor would speak, I'm like, how did that motherfucker know so much? When I came out of survival mode, I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can see it now. I couldn't see it. I can tell the deeper level you are in survival mode, you can't even hear me no more. I can't go into the hood. Like when I go to the hood, I learn to simplify, shrink stuff, and make stuff really, really simple. But I can tell when people can't hear me because they're in survival mode. You use a language where you both use, your skin looks good, your voice sounds good, your posture looks good. You might even have muscles, but you can't hear me because you're trapped. I was at the gym today. Young man walked up to me and I said, hey man, how old are you, young man? I can tell you're young because your face is young, but your energy feels like you're around 50. He said, yeah, I get that all the time. I'm just 30. And I'm working on this business. I started giving him a whole bunch of encouragement. And then when he left, I said, Kev, you know, I gave him all that encouragement. Go back to the pond. I'm trying to keep him focused on saying that, hey, your efforts are not wasted. Black men, black women, you need that encouragement. Because often you keep throwing that rock and you keep going, what the fuck? I'm throwing my ass off, my shoulder bad. I done took all kind of aspirin. This shit ain't working, Nana. And your nonlinearity, your transactional mind's like, this shit ain't working. Well, I'm on the other side now. And one of the most greatest gifts we can give to our people is not advice on what to do better with their life. To encourage them to keep throwing. Keep throwing, because at some point, based upon nonlinearity, something's going to come back and gonna blow your mind. That being said, as they say in Russia, I'll see y'all in a motherfucking minute. Peace. Good night.